Chapter 244. Beside the boy was an old man with white hair, who was smiling at Old Bai, holding a mid-quality pearl in his hand. Old Bai glanced at him and waved his hand. Forget it, forget it. Let's go. As soon as Old Bai finished speaking, someone behind him said, Huh. Old man, why don't they pay? Old Bai snorted. If you are poor, you can refuse to pay. That was the reality. The poor were poor. Although Old Bai was greedy for money, this pair of grandfather and grandson were obviously poor. They didn't even have a stick in their hands. It was immoral of them to accept money from others. The boy walked to the martial arts field, looked around, and finally took a deep breath. I challenge the manipulator. As soon as the boy said this, the people waiting behind all shook their heads. Was this boy's head hit by an iron-head fish? This manipulator was the captain of the thug legend. Up to now, she didn't even lift her butt. How could he challenge her? Lu Rinquang wondered, Han Fei, if I'm not mistaken, this boy has just become a junior fishing master, right? The pressure of his spiritual energy looks a bit weak. Han Fei nodded. You're right. His physique is a bit weak. The group of people behind were waiting to see a good show. They estimated that this boy would be defeated with one whip. Looking at the slightly nervous boy, Luo Xiaobai nodded very seriously, still sitting there meticulously. The boy opened his hand, and the ground under his feet instantly turned green, and large pieces of filamentous seaweed spread out. Ha! Seaweed? Han Fei exclaimed in surprise. Yes, this was the most common seaweed, even the kind that had no name, which could be seen everywhere in ordinary fisheries. Everyone thought that this would be a battle without any suspense, and that it wouldn't even take a breath of time. But when Luo Xiaobai raised her hand, she didn't summon her vines. Luo Xiaobai bounced off the chair and stepped out of the seaweed that was spreading over. She raised her hand again, summoned the vines from the open space, and slapped down. However, to everyone's astonishment, the young man's entire body slumped to the ground and disappeared. Large pieces of seaweed appeared on the ground. Smack! With a slap of the vines, a large area of seaweed was flattened, but the remaining seaweed spread towards Luo Xiaobai like maggots. Exclamations came from the crowd behind him. Lu Rinquang also exclaimed, Wow, is this a combat skill? Or was it some kind of ability? He turned himself into seaweed. Han Fei also widened his eyes. That's an exaggeration. Turning people into grass. Grass doesn't die, and people don't perish. In this way, unless we grind this entire stretch of seaweed into dregs, we won't be able to kill this person, right? Luo Xiaobai was very calm. She summoned dozens of vines and swept them across. Everywhere it passed, a faint mist bloomed. Zhang Xuanyu smiled. When Xiaobai was a junior fishing master, she hadn't mastered the use of poison yet. She only mastered some paralysis skills. However, this should be enough. Sure enough, the sea of seaweed stopped moving forward. Even so, the seaweed had already spread to an area of 30 to 40 meters. At this moment, he couldn't find the youth at all. Luo Xiaobai didn't panic but stared at the seaweed carefully. It was impossible for this youth to be so invincible. There had to be a loophole. There was no such thing as a perfect ability in this world. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, Han Fei nodded. I saw it. Lu Rinquang asked, where? After a full 3 minutes, Luo Xiaobai suddenly pointed her vines at an inconspicuous seaweed among the vines. However, in the middle of the attack, Zhang Xuanyu said leisurely, Time's up. The examinee has passed. The group of people outside were shocked. They were not only shocked that the boy passed, but also shocked by this boy's godlike ability. Turning into seaweed? This was simply unheard of. The seaweed gradually gathered and turned into the boy's appearance again. The boy looked back at his grandpa with a big grin. The old man smiled kindly. Nan Nan, come and greet senior brother and senior sister. The boy quickly took a breath, turned around, and bowed to Han Fei and the others. Chu Jinan greets senior brother and senior sister. Han Fei quite liked this guy. Although he looked a little stupid, he seemed to have a good character. He waved his hand and said, "Come, sit here." Han Fei pointed to Zhang Xuanyu's seat and Chu Jinan was taken aback. Han Fei smiled. "It's okay. He's standing." Chu Jinan blinked and didn't sit down. He just stood behind Zhang Xuanyu's chair and looked at Zhang Xuanyu cautiously. However, Zhang Xuanyu didn't feel anything and continued to shout, "Next." The remaining hundreds of people all saw someone pass the assessment with their own eyes, and it was Luo Xiaobai's seat. Immediately, someone chose Luo Xiaobai. But the result? As expected, they all failed. So far, except for Chu Jinan, no one had passed. When there were only 7 or 8 applicants left, Han Fei saw Grandpa Leader coming with Suya. Han Fei quickly moved his chair to the side of the door. "Grandpa Leader, you're here." Seeing Han Fei move his chair out, the village leader quickly waved his hand. No, you're taking the assessment now. Sit down, sit down. It's okay. I still have a chair with me." Under the gaze of countless people, many people stared at the girl next to Han Fei, wondering if she got in through the back door. The village leader asked, "Han Fei, I heard that you haven't recruited a single student yet. Where are you?" "We just recruited one." The village leader looked over, saw a standing boy, and couldn't help taking a deep breath. "So far, only one." Han Fei scratched his head. "Hey. It's mainly because there are too few people who meet the requirements." The village leader paused and hurriedly waved his hand to let Han Fei go back. He finally sat down on the chair. After all, a child from our village moved a chair here, which was a great honor for him. The village leader suggested, "Suya, this assessment is not easy. Give it a try. If you can't pass, we can go to other academies." Suya looked at the few people left in front of the Thug Academy, took a deep breath, and nodded. Since she saw Han Fei's strength last time, she asked a lot about the 4th Academy and heard about Han Fei's brilliant record of winning 100 games in a row in the Blue Sea Arena. So, she had to come to have a try. In fact, Han Fei had actually helped her get in through the back door. One plate ray had improved her cultivation by 2 levels. At this moment, she was already a peak level 9 fisher. Among the few people left, a woman led a girl over. Surprisingly, although the girl was petite, she was carrying an armor box. Lu Renkuang's eyes lit up. "A female armorist, rare." Zhang Xuanyu asked, "Who do you want to challenge?" The girl looked straight at Zhang Xuanyu. "I want to challenge you." Zhang Xuanyu froze for a moment and chuckled. "Okay." Zhang Xuanyu picked up the fine iron rod. "Attention, it's starting." Zhang Xuanyu suppressed his realm to that of a level 9 fisher and stabbed casually, and waves seemed to surge behind him. In the eyes of others, it was a wave of spiritual energy. However, the girl turned around and inserted the armor box in front of her. The box opened and 9 long swords shot out with a swish. The long swords stood upright and rotated around the girl. With a clang, the long swords were knocked away. At the same time, Zhang Xuanyu also took 3 or 4 steps back. Immediately, the eyes of Han Fei and the others lit up. Xia Shaochan was delighted. "Good." Lu Renkuang laughed. "It's a sword array, no worse than my knife array." Zhang Xuanyu smiled faintly. 3 layered waves in furious sea. The girl's face changed slightly. The 9 swords that were knocked away returned in an instant, and one of them shot directly at Zhang Xuanyu. Crack! A sword was broken and the girl vomited a mouthful of blood. However, she didn't stop and shot the second sword again, stronger and fiercer. Crack! The second sword was broken again and the girl vomited blood again, her face extremely pale. At this time, Zhang Xuanyu's attack hadn't been broken yet. The girl shouted and the 7 swords gathered in front of her in a circle, like a sword shield. Bam! The sword shield was knocked away and the girl was hit flying by the rod, rolling 5 or 6 times on the ground. But suddenly, spiritual energy surged out of the girl's body and she immediately got up. The 7 swords merged into one and turned into a big sword, shooting straight at Zhang Xuanyu. Wave slash. Zhang Xuanyu naturally didn't show any mercy and attacked with all his strength. However, the fine iron rod in his hand was shattered inch by the giant sword that had merged into one. There was really no other way. Zhang Xuanyu directly covered the huge sword with spiritual energy and patted it 3 times in a row. Only then did he manage to deflect the powerful sword. Zhang Xuanyu used the strength of a peak-level fisher. You pass. To be precise, when Zhang Xuanyu patted the sword for the second time, he used too much strength. Since she could force him to use a higher realm than others, she naturally passed. When the girl heard this, she vomited a mouthful of blood and fainted. At this time, a vine quickly stretched out from the ground, wrapped around the girl, and helped her to Zhang Xuanyu's position. Luo Xiaobai simply said, "Heal." Chapter 245. Han Fei waved his hand, and a ray of light fell on the girl. In the eyes of outsiders, it was magical, but Luo Xiaobai and the others were used to it. The girl's face quickly turned from pale to ruddy. After all, she was only a level 9 fisher, and it was much easier for her to recover than for a great fishing master. Seeing the girl slowly open her eyes, the woman outside the school gate breathed a sigh of relief. As long as she could enter the Thug Academy, it would be worth it no matter how serious her injury was. Han Fei glanced at the girl. Don't talk. The injury will be healed in 100 minutes. Keep your breath steady. The girl nodded slightly. The people behind her couldn't help but smile bitterly when they saw this scene. This is too difficult. If they were in his shoes, they would have been defeated long ago. They probably couldn't even take the first blow, let alone the 3 blows of the 3-layered waves in Furious Sea. At the door, Suya was pale and very nervous. The village leader sighed. It's okay. Just try your best. Don't pick Han Fei. Suya nodded. Of course, she wouldn't pick Han Fei. Last time, she found it at home. Even if Han Fei was 1 level lower, he could easily defeat her, let alone the same level. Suya went up and quickly glanced at the 5 of them. Lu Renquang looked at Han Fei. Your village? Junior sister? Han Fei nodded. Yes. Lu Renquang laughed. Unfortunately, no one will go easy on you. Han Fei nodded. Of course. Suya ruled out Han Fei first, Xia Shaochan second, and Lu Renquang third. It was not difficult for an armorist to deal with her. Suya looked at Zhang Xuanyu, thinking of the storm-like attack just now. She still couldn't resist it. In the end, she could only look at Luo Xiaobai. I choose the manipulator. Luo Xiaobai nodded, and at the same time, she received a voice transmission from Han Fei in her mind. Do her a favor and defeat her in the 4th minute. Han Fei knew that Suya definitely couldn't pass. But it would be of great benefit to her future if she could hold on for 1 more minute. For the sake of the village leader, he was shameless. Luo Xiaobai frowned slightly and nodded imperceptibly. Suddenly, patches of spirit-entangling grass grew around Suya. Almost at the same time as the spirit-entangling grass, a vine slashed over. Suya gritted her teeth and somersaulted to the side. At the same time, she entangled the spirit grass on the vines. When other vines attacked, the spirit-entangled grass had already wrapped around Suya's waist and pulled her away from the air. The battle between the 2 manipulators seemed to be a thrilling battle. Suya dodged left and right. To be honest, it had only been a few days since the innate spirit awakening, and it was already pretty good that the innate spirit plant could be used to this extent. But on the 4th breath, a vine whooshed through the air. Suya wanted to dodge again, but she saw that the spirit-entangled grass was entangled by vines. Bang! Suya was sent flying by a vine. She spat out a mouthful of blood and couldn't get up again. Luo Xiaobai said, "You're talented, and your control is not bad, but your fear is too strong. If you take the initiative to attack me, you might have a chance." At this point, the entire test was over. Han Fei walked out of the school gate, waved his hand, and a ray of light fell on Suya. "Not bad. Go to the first academy." "Grandpa Village Chief, I'm sorry to have wasted your trip." The village leader shook his head with a wry smile. "The assessment should be rigorous. I won't stay here any longer. I have to take Suya to the first academy." Han Fei nodded. "The injury will be healed in a few minutes." Seeing this scene, many people sighed. It seemed that it was impossible to get in through the back door. In other people's eyes, Suya had persisted for 2 minutes. If he had any sense of sentiment, he would have given it to her. For this reason, many people ran to say hello to the village leader. "Grandpa, the one in your village is too strict, isn't he? He should have passed the test. Alas! What a waste to raise this brat." "Grandpa, it's okay. It's the same to go to the first academy." The village leader greeted them one by one with a smile but didn't say anything. After the crowd dispersed, on the way to the first academy, the village leader slowly said, "Do you think Han Fei is a bit unreasonable?" Suya didn't speak, but the expression on her face was not very natural. The village leader sighed. "In fact, he has passed the back door for you." "Yes. I know. Not the plate ray, but just now." Suya was surprised. "Just now?" The village leader nodded. "Although you fought with that Luo Xiaobai for 2 minutes, that's because she didn't want to defeat you directly. Several times, as long as she blocked your spirit entangling grass, you would be defeated. But she defeated you at the 4th minute. What does this mean?" Suya looked at the village leader in surprise. "Deliberately?" The village leader nodded again. "Just look at the others. As far as we can see, few people can hold on for more than 3 minutes. You held on for 2 minutes. This is your strength." Suya added, "But the girl passed." The village leader gave a hollow laugh. "That's a genius." On the way here, we saw many people sigh and leave. Today, I'm afraid there are no less than 1,000 people coming to sign up. But how many people have entered in total? There were only 2 of them. Do you know what this means? Not only the village leader and Suya were thinking about this problem. Many people who came to sign up, including those from the 3 academies, were also thinking about this problem. The first academy, the principal's office. After hearing the news, Wu Junwei pondered and said, "The Thug Academy still adheres to its usual style of only accepting real geniuses. But they don't know that the more they do this, the greater the price they will pay in the future." A teacher asked, "President, do we need to make corresponding changes to our enrollment plan this year?" Wu Junhui shook his head. "Just a little bit. By the way, recruit all the people from the Thug Academy who can hold on for 3 or 4 minutes." The teacher was surprised. "President, there are less than 50 such people in total." Wu Junhui replied, "Nonsense, of course not. Do you really think those who can hold on for 3 or 4 minutes are useless? As for the others, we'll follow the enrollment plan of previous years," Su Tianji of the Second Academy sneered. Needless to say, Wu Junwei must have started snatching people. Among the people eliminated by the Thug Academy, as long as they can hold on for 2 minutes, we'll recruit them. Bai Kongyi still doesn't understand. What's the point of just recruiting some geniuses? No matter how talented they are, they're just a few students. Once he dies midway, the loss won't be small. Chu Mengxue from the 3rd Academy had the same thought as Su Tianji. Anyone who could last until the second breath would be killed. Why did they open an academy? Just to recruit geniuses? No. The 3 major academies were the backbone of cultivating talents. The Thug Academy was not a school at all. How could they be afraid of a few people? The Thug Academy. The girl recovered from her injuries and said to Han Fei, "Thank you, senior brother Han Fei." Zhang Xuanyu came over. "Are you okay? I used too much strength just now. Don't mind me." The girl replied, "Hello, senior brother Zhang. It's my duty. This is the assessment." Zhang Xuanyu grinned. "Girl, what's your name?" When Han Fei heard this, he kicked Zhang Xuanyu. "Her mother is still here." Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. "I asked for your name. Until now, I still don't know junior sister's name. My name is Ling Yuan, and my spiritual beast is a basalt conch." Han Fei didn't know what a basalt conch was, but a basalt conch usually had strong defensive power. Just now, he could tell that even though this girl was spitting out mouthfuls of blood, she was still able to withstand it. Old Bai closed the stall and said, "Lurinquang, come and carry the money back. Xiao Bai, invite the guests in. Han Fei, your punishment period is not over yet. Go cook. Zhang Xuanyu, take the junior brothers and junior sisters to build tree houses." Old Bai felt that he had arranged everything in order. But he didn't know that Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan looked at each other. This. Shouldn't a student's vocation be to cultivate? Cook. Build tree houses? Luo Xiaobai walked forward obediently. "Grandpa and this auntie, please come with me." Zhang Xuanyu snapped his fingers and said, "Let's go. I'll show you the environment of our Thug Academy. It's quite beautiful and the key is tranquil." Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan looked curious. Following Zhang Xuanyu and the others to the living area, the two of them were dumbfounded. There were 5 tree houses hanging on the trees. Not far below the tree houses was the kitchen. At this moment, Han Fei was taking out a plate ray. The show cut the plate ray into many pieces with a hua 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 sound. He waved his hand in the air and a pool of water began to wash the plate ray. This series of means could be said to be done in one go, and the two newcomers were dumbfounded. How could such a powerful ability be used to cook? Zhang Xuanyu said, "Don't just stand there. We have to finish setting up the treehouse before Han Fei finishes cooking. Quang Quang, go cut a few big trees. Chu Jinan, Ling Yuan." Chapter 246. After a while, the 2 treehouses had taken shape. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan climbed up and down, feeling very excited. This was different from the entrance assessment. During the entrance assessment, Han Fei and the others were like 5 devils sitting there, scaring all of them. But at this moment, they found that these people were very skinny. 2 hours later. Everyone sat down around the big round table. This table had just been built. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy for 12 people to sit down. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan naturally sat next to their grandfather and mother. Chu Jinan's grandfather looked gratified. "Teachers and students, please take care of my Nan Nan." Xiao Zhan said generously, "Grandpa, don't worry. No one dares to bully them in our Thug Academy." Ling Yuan's mother also thanked her. Yuan, listen to the teachers and senior brothers and sisters in the future, okay?" Ling Yuan nodded lightly. "Okay." Xia Shaochan looked at Ling Yuan and then at Luo Xiaobai. I find that their personalities are a bit similar." "I noticed it too." Luo Xiaobai ignored the two of them. "Let's eat." This was the first time that Chu Jinan had eaten such tempting food. Before, he didn't have money. He had never eaten or even heard of the Fish Dragon Hot Pot restaurant. But Ling Yuan, whose family seemed to be quite rich, seemed to have eaten hot pot before. However, when she saw those side dishes, she was too shocked to speak. She had never tasted these delicacies before. Ling Yuan's mother looked at the dishes on the table and secretly took a breath. These had never appeared on the market before. If they appeared, it would probably affect the diet of the entire Blue Sea town. Hot pot was the first goal of the two teenagers, but when they ate a mouthful of plate ray, they were both stunned. Especially Chu Jin-nan, his mouth didn't move. The tender and smooth meat rolled over his tongue, and he felt like a bolt from the blue. Was there such delicious food in this world? So, at the dinner table, Chu Jin-nan and Ling Yuan couldn't help nibbling at it. Unfortunately, only after a short while, the two of them were steaming and their hair was smoking. When Ren Yu said lightly, "You two, hurry up and find an open space to sit down and cultivate. You can only eat this much for this meal." Although the two new students really wanted to eat a few more mouthfuls of fish, the spiritual energy in their bodies was surging violently, so they could only put down their chopsticks and sit on the ground to cultivate. Chu Jinnan's grandfather kept a smile on his face and sighed in his heart. This is what an advanced academy is like. Look, I've worked hard for dozens of years to push my grandson to his current cultivation level. However, just one meal after entering the school was already very beneficial. Ling Yuan's mother didn't say anything, but she was secretly surprised. Sure enough, he had come to the right place this time. Look at what they were eating here. A rare creature in the level 2 fishery. Even if they only ate and drank every day, the effects would be better than cultivating in the other 3 academies. Of course, she didn't know that Han Fei rarely cooked many dishes. When Han Fei was not cooking, Lu Rinquang would cook, or Old Bai and Xiao Zhan would cook. The effect was much worse than Han Fei's. After the meal, Chu Jinnan's grandpa and Ling Yuan's mother left. As for Chu Jinnan and the other two, they hadn't woken up from their cultivation. Before the 5 of them slipped away, Xiao Zhan suddenly said in a deep voice, "Gather." Han Fei and the others looked shocked. After resting for such a long time, was the 3rd brocade sachet coming? Soon, the 5 of them lined up in a row. Even though Han Fei was usually mischievous, he was very looking forward to it at this moment. Wasn't this what he had been working so hard for? Old Bai stood in front of everyone, and Xiao Zhan and Wenren Yu stood on both sides, expressionless at the moment. Old Bai looked at everyone and slowly said, "So far, you have done well. Ms. Wenren has already told me that you have mastered the most basic fishing skills and have found your contractual spiritual beasts. I'm not afraid to say that so far, you are truly standing in the top 100 of the 4 academies of the Blue Sea Town." Suddenly, Old Bai sneered. "But is it useful to be in the top 100? Let me tell you, in the 1,000-star city, any boy your age can probably enter the top 100. So, this is not something to be proud of. Not to mention the 1,000-star city, the 36 towns under the jurisdiction of the 1,000-star city are also full of strong masters. The Blue Sea Town only ranks about 20th among all the towns." 20th? Zhang Xuanyu was surprised. "Shut up." Xiao Zhan snorted and glared at Zhang Xuanyu, and the latter quickly shut up. Old Bai raised a finger. Even if each town selects 100 of the most talented teenagers, there will be 3,600 people. Among these people, even if you can beat half of them, you will still have 1,800 competitors. So, are you still proud of yourself? Han Fei and the others took a breath slightly. Is this how it works? In this way, it seems that there is really nothing to be proud of. But the point is, we are not proud. Old Bai said with a knowing look, "Geniuses are very conceited, and the strong are very proud. However, let me tell you, this is far from enough. The students of my Thug Academy have beaten those so-called geniuses to the point that they can't even raise their heads. Now, if the Thug Academy doesn't come back, it's fine. But since you have come back, you must continue the brilliant achievements of your predecessors. The Blue Sea Town is not your goal, nor are the 36 towns. Your goal is to beat those heavenly talents in the 1,000-star city one day." Old Bai's voice was full of vicissitudes. The words coming out of his mouth were very contagious. Lu Rinquang, Xia Shaochan, and the others next to Han Fei were all excited. Old Bai continued, "Of course, you have to take things one step at a time. The first 2 brocade sachets were just to let you know yourselves, find your strengths and weaknesses, familiarize yourself with combat skills, and strengthen cooperation. That's all. Now, starting from the 3rd brocade sachet, it represents danger and the crisis of death at any time. Do you dare to accept the challenge? Yes. Everyone said almost in unison. If it weren't for it, why would we work so hard? Xiao Zhan took a step out, holding a brocade sachet in his hand, and looked at them coldly. Since you have accepted the challenge, you must do it. When we were in the level 2 fishery, Ms. Wenren didn't let you enter the fiery mountain. Now you have a chance. Xiao Zhan threw the brocade sachet in his hand to Luo Xiaobai. Read it. Luo Xiaobai took the brocade sachet, opened it, and looked solemn. Zhang Xuanyu quickly took it from him. After reading it, he was slightly taken aback, and then he also looked solemn. Xia Shaochan grabbed it. What? Fiery mountain, a secret realm? Han Fei took a look and was slightly surprised. No wonder Wenren you didn't let them go to the fiery mountain. So the fiery mountain was a secret realm? Sea beasts were rampant there, and almost all the special creatures in the level 2 fishery could be seen there. What they needed to do next was to enter the secret realm with the other 3 academies. Of course, it was not as simple as a trial. There were opportunities in the secret realm. But there was a key problem. The top 100 students of each academy could enter, but there were only 5 of them in their school. Chu Jinnan and Ling Yuan certainly couldn't go. This meant that there were only 5 people on their side, facing nearly 300 people from the other 3 academies. 5 versus 300, that was fine. But it was written on the brocade sachet that they had to be in the top 10, so that they were qualified to get the 4th brocade sachet. Xiao Zhan sneered. Top 10 is just the minimum requirement. My requirement for you is to be in the top 5. Luo Xiaobai asked, top 5? Xiao Zhan said coldly, the 5 of you are in the same team. Is there a difference between a single person and a team? Luo Xiaobai nodded. This task was very important. Although they had won 100 consecutive victories in the Blue Sea Arena, only one of the top 10 students of the 3 academies had come out. This time was different. Not only were they outnumbered, but they also had to enter the top 5. This meant that they had to be the strongest. Were the top 10 students of the 3 academies really weak? Not necessarily. At that time, a white-collar Siyi led a team to injure Xia Shaochan and Zhang Xuanyu. Shi and Lu Renkuang were on par with the other party. If it weren't for Han Fei, even if they could win, it would be a narrow victory. Even so, they were still in the top 50 on average. Xiao Zhan immediately roared, are you confident? Yes. Chapter 247. Xiao Zhan said, you only have 1 month to prepare for this trial. Han Fei, if it's not too much, you can teach Chu Jinnan the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing. Although he has become a fishing master, his body is even weaker than a level 7 fisher. Take care of junior brother. No problem. Of course, it wasn't a problem. He had been to the library a lot. All the combat skills and classics of the Thug Academy were open to them. Why wouldn't he teach them? Wenren Yu also said, Little Bai, take care of Ling Yuan these days. When Chu Jinnan's physique improves, he'll swap with Han Fei. Okay. Old Bai left. Xiao Zhan glanced at Lu Renkuang and Zhang Xuanyu one last time. You too, hurry up and cultivate. He's still too weak. Lu Renkuang. Zhang Xuanyu, after Xiao Zhan left, Zhang Xuanyu smiled bitterly and said, not bad. I can already feel that I'm improving at a godly rate. Fei, tell me, how did you manage to break through so quickly even though you have a level 4 spiritual heritage? Han Fei blinked and said, although it's still level 4, its level has improved a little. Everyone looked at Han Fei speechlessly. The latter's expression did not change. He thought to himself, aren't all of you growth-type spirit veins? Why are you looking at me? Zhang Xuanyu shook his head, not wanting to talk to Han Fei. It was really tiring. He still had the cheek to call himself a low-grade spiritual vein. Lower your head. In the past, I should have known that this guy would lie with his eyes open. Zhang Xuanyu put his arm around Lu Rinquang's shoulder. Fatty, now we are the only ones left. Lu Rinquang pushed Zhang Xuanyu's hand away. At most, I will be able to break through in a few days. Zhang Xuanyu. An hour later, Han Fei went to Shaozhan and asked for the method of copying jade slips. When he came back, only Chu Jinnan was there. Everyone else was gone. Huh? Where are the others? Senior brother Han Fei, the senior brothers and senior sisters have gone to cultivate. Senior sister Luo left with Ling Yuan. I didn't see senior sister Xiaochan. Han Fei looked at Chu Jinnan up and down. Yes. Your body can't continue to break through. With that, Han Fei threw the copied incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing to Chu Jinnan. I'll give you a month to practice the 108 postures on this combat skill. Don't ask for small success, but you must complete it. Don't miss a single pose. Chu Jinnan looked serious. Since the Thug Academy was so strong, their combat skills must be very powerful. Thus, he nodded firmly. Yes, senior brother. Han Fei said solemnly, don't make a breakthrough before your physique is as strong as that of a junior fishing master. You need to eat your fill every day. What you need right now isn't just spiritual qi, but more energy. You need a large amount of energy to support your cultivation of this battle skill. With that said, Han Fei took out 7 or 8 bottles of iron fish body polishing fluid and threw them over. With your current physique, you can only take a sip at a time. Follow me. Holding the jade slip and the iron fish body polishing fluid, Chu Jinnan wondered if senior brother was the one who taught combat skills in the 4th Academy. However, he had seen Han Fei's battle. During the assessment, some people, including Xia Shaochan, had lasted for 2 seconds. However, when facing Han Fei, no one had been able to last for more than 1 second. Han Fei took Chu Jinnan to the cave where he usually cultivated and said solemnly, I will come here to check once a day. If you encounter a movement that you can't complete, repeat the previous movements until you can continue the subsequent movements. Yes, senior brother. Han Fei left irresponsibly and strolled out of the school gate. Suddenly, Han Fei slightly leaned to the side and the instant knife appeared in his hand. Clank. Han Fei was speechless. Xia Shaochan, it's you again. Are you free? Xia Shaochan appeared from the stealth state and asked curiously, I just made a breakthrough, so I can't stabilize my realm in a short time. What about you? Where are you going? Han Fei put away the knife, looked at Xia Shaochan in a traditional Chinese costume, and couldn't help swallowing. I'm going to the Linglong Tower. Xia Shaochan's eyes lit up. Are you going to buy clothes? Han Fei frowned. What clothes? Can the clothes of the Linglong Tower be better than yours? Xia Shaochan replied, I don't care. I'm going too. By the way, tie my hair rope. I don't know how to. Han Fei took the red ribbon hair rope from Xia Shaochan's hand, grabbed her hair, and said while tying her hair, I'm going to buy some refining materials. But you, don't go there for no reason. The Linglong Tower is a scam. Xia Shaochan snorted. I have money. Han Fei didn't bother to talk. Where did you get your money? Isn't your money mine? Linglong Tower. As soon as Han Fei arrived, someone recognized him. It was not because Han Fei spent a lot of money in the Linglong Tower, but because the clothes designed by Han Fei were too beautiful. Of course, at this moment, no one looked at Han Fei at all. Everyone was staring at Xia Shaochan. Han Fei looked helpless. When she walked all the way from the outside, Xia Shaochan caused a sensation. In addition to her beautiful appearance, the clothes she was wearing were also very fashionable. Along the way, dozens of people ran up to ask where this clothes were made. Was it a new style of the Linglong Tower? Yu Ling, the great tailor of the Linglong Tower, rushed out as soon as she heard that Han Fei had come with gorgeous clothes. When she saw the clothes Xia Shaochan was wearing, she couldn't calm down anymore and her breathing became rapid. She couldn't wait to touch them. Yu Ling asked, Han Fei, are you selling this dress? Before Han Fei answered, Xia Shaochan shook her head. No, I won't sell it. Han Fei nodded. Yes, I won't sell it. Yu Ling was very disappointed. After all, the Linglong Tower was a prestigious place. If they robbed her like the Black River Chamber of Commerce, their reputation would be ruined. Even so, this didn't stop Yu Ling from staring at Xia Shaochan, as if trying to find inspiration from her clothes. Han Fei said to her via voice transmission, I told you that you shouldn't have come. Look, you're being stared at like a jellyfish. Xia Shaochan glared at Han Fei. You are a jellyfish. Your whole family are jellyfish. Han Fei was annoyed. We are here to buy things. What are you looking at? Where is your service attitude? Yu Ling smiled. What do you want to see this time? Han Fei asked, do you have dragon tendons? Yu Ling. The waiters? They were all speechless. Are you fucking crazy? Why don't you ask if there are dragon tendons? Why don't you ask if there are dragon meat? Yu Ling said, Brother Han Fei, don't joke like this. Han Fei snorted. Then do you have python tendons above level 40? Yu Ling looked at Han Fei with a complicated look. Han Fei, even if there are you sure you want to buy them? Han Fei looked around. Are you going to talk to me here? Yu Ling's face changed slightly, and her tone and demeanor changed. Please come with me. Han Fei and the curious Xia Shaochan went upstairs to the 8th floor. Yu Ling explained, after all, the Blue Sea Town is just a town. There can't be anything particularly magical. However, we do have a few python tendons above level 40 in the Linglong Tower. However, their price is not cheap, even not cheaper than ordinary spiritual weapons. That's hundreds of thousands of mid-quality spiritual stones. Han Fei said like a rich man, I know whether to buy them or not and how to buy them. You just need to show me. It was the first time that Han Fei had come to the upper floor of the Linglong Tower. Yu Ling explained that the 5th, 6th, and 7th floors were all magic treasure floors, and usually few people could afford them. As for the floors above the 7th floor, people might not come here even once in several months. Han Fei and the others came here for the first time this month. When they entered the 8th floor, Han Fei saw that half of the entire floor was weapons, and all of them were spiritual weapons. Some spiritual weapons, even placed in boxes, couldn't hide their brilliance. Han Fei noticed a long spear hanging on the 8th floor at first glance. Although Han Fei never used a spear, this spear didn't stop him from attracting his attention. The long spear was crimson, and from time to time, he could see the shadow of a coiling dragon on the spear. The tip of the spear, which was brighter than a diamond, was shining no matter from which angle. This kind of brightness directly stimulated the eyes of every customer who came to the 8th floor. Yu Ling said with a smile, this red flame dragon spear is the treasure of the Linglong Tower, a high-quality spiritual weapon, with a level 44 exotic creature, red flame python, sealed inside. In front of it, ordinary weapons were like paper, unable to withstand a single blow. Its price is only a mere 2 million mid-quality pearls. With the current financial resources of your fish dragons, you can also afford it. If you want to buy it, I can deduct 100,000 mid-quality pearls from you in private. Han Fei swallowed. He couldn't afford a ball at all. 2 million mid-quality pearls. Am I crazy? Buy this spear? Huh? Xia Shaochan had run to a cabinet and grabbed 2 daggers. Show. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. Let go. Chapter 248. However, in the next moment, Han Fei immediately activated a spiritual energy protective cover and a cold light pierced straight at him. Crack! Pfft! Han Fei was already hiding. Xia Shaochan picked up the pair of knives. He knew what Xia Shaochan was going to do the moment he shoved her. At this moment, the spiritual energy protective cover on Han Fei's body was shattered, and his belly was severely injured. Shuchit was cut by more than an inch. Xia Shaochan didn't even use her full strength. Han Fei said angrily, "Xia Shaochan, give me a dagger. Put the show back." As Han Fei waved his hand, the wound immediately stopped bleeding, and the skin quickly healed. Yuling was dumbfounded by this scene. "Aren't you all good classmates? Isn't this your girlfriend? Is this how you fall in love?" Yuling couldn't help but sigh in her heart. Young people these days really knew how to have fun. Even dating was so exciting. Xia Shaochan reluctantly put the dagger in her hand away. The show put it down. "How much is the show?" Yuling smiled and said, "That's a pair of Lan Pabai." The show was only an inferior grade spiritual weapon, and there were 2 rare crayfish above level 30 sealed in it. Obviously, it was much cheaper than the red fire dragon spear, only costing 400,000 mid-quality pearls. Think about it. Xia Shaochan looked at Han Fei eagerly, and the latter blurted out, "No." Xia Shaochan snorted. "If you don't want to buy it, I will." "I have buy high." Han Fei's expression changed slightly and he immediately said, "I'll make it for you when I get back." Xia Shaochan blinked her eyes slyly and said, "Forget it, I won't buy it. What the fuck show is just a so-so. I'm not interested." At this time, Xia Shaochan's voice sounded in his head, "How many blue sea wandering dragon bones can you refine?" "I just want 2, the more exquisite the better." At that time, each of the 5 of them had a blue sea wandering dragon bone, but now they were all dead. However, they didn't know that refining weapons required spiritual energy. It wasn't easy for them to accumulate so much spiritual energy, so how could it be easy for them? Of course, the blue sea wandering dragon bones must not be exposed. Otherwise, wouldn't they be telling the Linglong Tower that they had found the body of the blue sea wandering dragon? The name of the Blue Sea town came from this blue sea wandering dragon. Han Fei took a deep breath. "I want to see the python tendon. Take it out." Yuling was a little surprised. Faced with so many treasures, Han Fei didn't look at them at all and only wanted the python tendon. Could it be that he really wanted to go back and refine it himself? However, thinking about it, it was possible. Maybe one of the 3 teachers of the 4th Academy wanted to refine weapons. Soon, 3 boxes were placed on the counter by the waiter. Among them, one was scarlet like fire, one was icy blue like jade, and one was black like glass. Han Fei raised his eyebrows and information popped up in his eyes. The first one was the tendon of the red flame python, which was used to make the red flame dragon spear. Its characteristic was that it had an extremely high internal temperature and was extremely resistant to cold. The second one was the ice serpent. Its characteristics were similar to the blue sea wandering dragon bone. It was very cold and had a strong resistance to heat. The third one, to be precise, was not a python, but the tendon of a purple sand eel. Its characteristics were that it was extremely tough, but it contained a trace of sand poison. Han Fei directly skipped the first one. Just because it had ice and fire, it was not a good thing. When the 2 characteristics of cold and heat offset each other, even if a spiritual weapon was forged, it would only be an ordinary spiritual weapon. At least, Han Fei couldn't rely on the demon purification pot to gamble on this thing. As for the second ice serpent tendon, Han Fei hesitated and decided to give up. Was he going to freeze himself to death? Han Fei closed the box containing the red flame python tendon and the ice serpent tendon, pushed it back, and patted the counter. "How much is this?" Yuling was slightly taken aback. Han Fei actually chose the tendon of the purple sand eel, which surprised her. Just from the looks alone, the other 2 were even more visually impactful than this one. Yuling took a deep look at Han Fei. You have a good eye. Han Fei quickly raised his hand. Stop. Don't flatter me or raise the price. I just bought it because it doesn't look good. Yuling was stunned. Why do you have so many tricks up your sleeve? Then why don't you choose the tendon of the red flame python or the tendon of the ice serpent? It's only 200,000 mid-quality pearls. The corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. That's too much. The two daggers just now were only 400,000 mid-quality pearls. Is your tendon so expensive? Yes, it's too expensive. Yuling shook her head with a smile. The tendon of this purple sand eel is 300,000 mid-quality pearls. Its cold-resistant ability is not as good as the tendon of the red flame python or the tendon of the ice serpent. However, it is very balanced and far more resilient than those two. 300,000 mid-quality pearls, no bargaining. Of course, if you want to exchange it for clothes, these three are free and I can give them to you. Han Fei chuckled. No. But I can exchange it for other things. Doesn't your Linglong Tower accept treasures? Of course, if you can take out something of equal value, it's also possible. Han Fei opened his hand and a moon-watching pearl appeared. This was the only moon-watching eel they had caught in the level 2 fishery in the past 2 months. Because it was rare, the moon-watching pearl was definitely not cheap. Yuling exclaimed in surprise. Moon-watching pearl? I haven't seen this thing for a long time. However, it's not worth 300,000 mid-quality pearls. I can give you 50,000 mid-quality pearls. Han Fei took out another soul resistance pearl. What about this? Yuling glanced at Han Fei in surprise. Have you been to the piercing electricity zone? Not bad. It's very good that you can get a soul resistance pearl. However, its comprehensive evaluation is not as good as the moon-watching pearl. I will give you 40,000 mid-quality pearls. With a swish, Han Fei took out 7 or 8 soul resistance pearls at once. Is this enough? Yuling. Yuling felt a little ridiculous. Did you rob the piercing electricity zone? So many soul resistance pearls. Xia Shaochan said, don't sell them all. Leave 2 for Chu Jinnan and Ling Yuan. There are only 2 of them. When we went there were 5 of us. Han Fei replied, I know. There are still a dozen of them. It's not a big deal. Xia Xiaochan's eyes lit up. Then let's buy something else. No, this is not just for the 2 of us. There are 3 of them. It's not appropriate for us to use them all. You've used them. I haven't used them yet. Then why don't we exchange them for money? What do you like? You can buy it yourself. Xia Shaochan thought for a while. Forget it. We don't have sea-swallowing seashells. They take up too much space. Just make them for me. You just need to make the show. You can have my share. After chatting with Xia Shaochan, Han Fei counted 8 soul resistance pearls and gave them to Yuling. What about the moon-watching pearl? I only have 1 moon-watching pearl. Maybe it will be useful in the future. Yuling was speechless. So you just took it out to show off, didn't you? This is not the sea. Otherwise, I'll kill you. Han Fei put away the purple sand eel tendon and then asked casually, do you have pills here? Yuling smiled. Of course, we have a lot. A lot. Do many people buy them? Yuling shook her head helplessly. Few people you see on the street will buy them. However, those who go to the level 3 fishery will buy them. Many people in the level 3 fishery will buy them. What do you have? How much? Yuling clapped her hands and soon someone came with a plate. Yuling swayed her body and smiled. The Linglong Tower doesn't sell low-quality pills. The worst quality is the Spirit Rising pill. Han Fei quickly learned about the so-called pills and found that there were three main types. One was to quickly restore spiritual energy, one was to quickly heal injuries, and one was to quickly repair spiritual energy consumption. After reading it, Han Fei immediately lost interest. What the hell is this? They were not even as good as his divine healing technique. Besides, he didn't need the first and second types. As for the third type, he didn't know when it would be useful. Han Fei frowned. Only these? Yuling wondered, are these not enough? Han Fei gestured. Are there any special kinds of pills? For example, to help you break through? To help you temper your bones? To widen your meridians? Yes, but very few. A spiritual pill that can temper your body costs at least 10,000 mid-quality pearls. Do you want to buy those? Yuling thought Han Fei wouldn't need those. After all, for most geniuses, they were reluctant to use pills to improve themselves. Although in theory, the harm to the body was very small, they were still unwilling to do so. Besides, these kinds of pills were very expensive. When Han Fei heard that the starting price was 10,000, he thought to himself, bye-bye. Are you robbing me? Chapter 249. On the way back, Xia Shaochan asked curiously, Han Fei, did you learn to refine spiritual weapons because you had a special opportunity? Hush. Although this matter had been tacitly understood, Xia Shaochan still felt uncomfortable. God knows why Han Fei could even refine spiritual weapons. Han Fei lowered his voice and said, this is a secret. I won't tell ordinary people. Xia Shaochan responded in a low voice, I won't tell others either. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Actually, I have a master, a very powerful one. I haven't cultivated since I was 8 to 12 years old. I just learned these strange things from him. Afterwards, he finished preaching and left. After that, I began to cultivate. Xia Shaochan had heard about Han Fei's story. It was said that 2 months before the fishing trial, he was only a level 2 fisher. In 2 months, he reached level 7. Han Fei said, don't tell others. Xia Shaochan thought that Han Fei had no reason to lie. Otherwise, he couldn't explain it. Xia Shaochan asked, then where is your master now? Han Fei said solemnly, when he left, he said he was going to the Infinite Sea. I didn't know where it was, so I said I would go to the Infinite Sea to find him when I grew up. Who knew the Infinite Sea was so big? Xia Shaochan was a little confused. To the Infinite Sea? How capable does he have to be? The two of them whispered about this topic all the way. In the end, Han Fei managed to fool them. At the same time, he thought to himself, no, I have to find a way to learn refining techniques in the future. Otherwise, if I have to refine in front of others one day, I'll be exposed. Thug Academy. Han Fei took a look at Chu Jinnan and found that this guy looked as if he had just been fished out of the water. However, he had only made 3 postures so far. Plop. When Chu Jinnan saw Han Fei, he directly lay on the ground, panting. Senior. Senior brother. Han Fei pretended to be serious and said, yes. Don't ask for fast, but steady. Continue to work hard. Yes, senior brother. Han Fei ran into a cave and secretly hid in Forge the Universe. The Supreme Dragon Chief had only used less than a third of it, but it had consumed a lot of spirit chi. He threw the dragon head, the purple sand eel, and the fire element crystal into the demon purification pot. The spiritual spring in Forge the Universe dropped another few centimeters. Han Fei estimated that it would cost at least 70,000 points of spiritual energy. Half an hour later, a white longbow appeared in front of Han Fei. Data appeared in his eyes. Name, Blue Sea Wandering Dragon Bow. Introduction. Forged from the bone of the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon. The bow has the intent of extreme coldness, and the string has the sound of breaking souls. When the string is broken, it will turn into purple sand and reform the bowstring. Low-grade spiritual weapon soulless recastable unrefined in terms of quality, it was almost the same as the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers. The main difference was that the bow was larger and required more materials than the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers. Therefore, the amount of spiritual chi consumed was relatively higher. If the string was broken, it would turn into purple sand. Could it be reformed? Doesn't that mean that this string will never break? Han Fei held the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon bow and played with it a few times. He pulled the bow, and the bowstring was pulled into a half-arc with the force of 1,000 pounds. As spiritual energy was injected into it, a spiritual arrow appeared. Han Fei tried many times and found that the basic cost of the arrow was 200 points of spiritual energy. Less than this number, the arrow couldn't be condensed. Bam! The arrow was shot out and blasted a big pit on the ground with great power. Han Fei put away the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon bow with a smile and reappeared in the cave. Seeing that the cave was still closed, he walked out. While walking, he hummed a tune. With a snap of his fingers, dozens of Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers appeared. Then, the number increased one by one. When the number increased to 15, some Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers fell to the ground. Han Fei tried several times and finally found that he could only control 12 Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers at the same time. While Han Fei was humming, he saw a vine emerging from the ground. Swish! 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 The vine was cut into 7 or 8 pieces in the blink of an eye. Han Fei asked, "Xiaobai, why did you learn from Xia Shaochan?" Han Fei looked up and found that Luo Xiaobai and Ling Yuan were hanging on the tree. Yes, many big trees were strung up by vines, and Ling Yuan was lying on a vine, panting. Yo! What is this style? Why don't you practice on the ground? Why are you doing these fancy things on the tree? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Train. Han Fei couldn't figure out what kind of training method this was, so he shook his head. Then continue. I'm going back to the treehouse to sleep. Okay. Then Han Fei whistled and walked leisurely to the treehouse. The 12 daggers around him were put into various shapes from time to time, sometimes as a shield, sometimes as a hole, and sometimes as a spiral. Han Fei found that the million knife art had so many uses, but unfortunately, it was extremely difficult to control. His spiritual power should not be bad, right? But he could only control 12 daggers. Ling Yuan wondered, "Senior sister, is senior brother Han Fei so leisurely?" Luo Xiaobai replied, "You only saw his lazy look, but you haven't seen what he looks like when he really fights. My vine array can't suppress him at all." Ling Yuan looked at Han Fei's back and couldn't help but feel a little discouraged. Luo Xiaobai was too strong, but she could easily beat her in the same realm as Han Fei. Then what about Han Fei? Could she hold on for 5 minutes in his hands? In the treehouse, Han Fei was wholeheartedly visualizing the god-scaring painting. Half a month passed just like that. In addition to eating, he slept. In the past half a month, Chu Jinnan's physique had risen sharply, from a level 7 fisher's physique to a level 9 peak level. Of course, it was still far from his own realm, but this didn't prevent his strength from growing rapidly, far faster than Ling Yuan's. Of course, Ling Yuan had also broken through from a level 9 peak level to a junior fishing master. In terms of the comprehensive combat power of the two sides, Ling Yuan was stronger than Chu Jinnan. Nearly a month later, Han Fei suddenly perked up. He had memorized the second piece of the map. At the moment he successfully remembered it, his spiritual perception suddenly expanded to a range of 50 meters, directly reaching a perception range of 100 meters. Suddenly, Han Fei sat up with a strange look. Isn't this too fast? At this moment, Han Fei felt that his thoughts were very clear, and some things that he couldn't figure out before seemed to be straightened out. This seemed to be because his perception had been strengthened. Even if Han Fei looked at an ordinary piece of wood, he could see the fine grain on the wood grain, which gave him a sense of beauty created by nature. Han Fei stretched out his hand, and the blue sea wandering dragon daggers floated in the air. To Han Fei's surprise, this time there were 20 daggers floating in the air. Letting the daggers surround him, he didn't feel as obscure as before. This scene made Han Fei tremble all over. This god-scaring painting could actually improve people's spiritual power. Han Fei's breathing became rapid. If he kept practicing the god-scaring painting, he would only be closer and closer to the real million knife art. Imagine, what would it be like to be surrounded by 10,000 daggers? However, after a while, Han Fei smiled bitterly. In this month, he could only remember a small piece of the god-scaring painting, but there were 1,000 pieces. Even if he did nothing but focused on practicing the god-scaring painting, it would take him more than 80 years. Forget it, it's good enough that my spiritual power can grow. Let's take it one step at a time. What Han Fei didn't know was that if his thoughts were known by others, they would probably smash his head. Even Bai Kongyi would be amazed if his spiritual perception increased by 50 meters in a month. Han Fei got up and went to the cave. When he arrived at the cave, he found that Xia Shaochan was standing here and commanding. Okay, don't suppress your realm anymore. Make a breakthrough. Xia Shaochan looked back. Well, I've done all 108 postures. I can't suppress it anymore. Han Fei nodded. Then make a breakthrough. Xia Shaochan suddenly exclaimed, Huh? Why do I feel that you are a little different? Han Fei smiled. Am I more handsome? Xia Shaochan said thoughtfully, Humph, don't be so smug. Let's go and cook. Let's go. Ah. Chapter 250. At dinner time. Han Fei prepared a table full of dishes. 10 people sat around the table, talking and laughing. Xiao Zhan said, although Chu Jinnan's physique is still a little weak, it's much better than when he first came in. Not bad. Chu Jinnan replied, Thank you, teacher. Thank you, senior brother Han Fei. This is the effect of the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body tempering. Xiao Zhan, yes. Just thank your senior brother Han Fei. This combat skill is unique to him. Chu Jinnan was stunned. Isn't this the combat skill of the school? Chu Jinnan hurriedly wanted to thank Han Fei, but Han Fei curled his lips. Stop it. Let's eat. Luo Xiaobai said, Ling Yuan should have learned from you. However, I saw that Chu Jinnan had been cultivating, so I didn't look for you. In the future. Old Bai said leisurely, you really have to wait for the future. Tomorrow, Xiao Zhan will take you out to sea. Han Fei and the others were all stunned. I've been back for more than a month, and I'm finally going out to sea again. When Xiao Zhan wasn't in class, he was always smiling. At this moment, he smiled and said, Tomorrow, the top 100 students of the 4 academies will set off for the Flame Mountain. Prepare yourselves. This time, your target is the top 5. Lu Renquang muttered, Isn't it the top 10? When Ren Yu threw a little white shrimp on Lu Renquang's head. That's the bottom line. Zhang Xuanyu asked, What's the rule for the top 5? Are we fighting for the first place in the Blue Sea town? Bai Kongyi sneered. Fight for first place. What they were fighting for was a qualification. All you need to know is that this is a real life and death match. However, it was best not to kill if possible. Although we're not on good terms with the 3 academies, those who can enter the Fiery Mountain this time are the backbone of the younger generation of the Blue Sea town. Of course, if someone wants to surround and kill you, then you don't have to hold back. Kill whoever comes. Chu Jinnan and Ling Yuan felt their blood freeze when they heard that. They did not know what kind of place the Flame Mountain was. However, the elites of the 3 academies had all come out, and they were even allowed to kill each other. Just to fight for a qualification? Han Fei asked leisurely, Is there a reward? Bai Kongyi chuckled. What kind of rewards are you talking about? The blazing mountain was full of opportunities. If you want the reward, go get it yourself. Wenren Yu added, don't think that you're the only ones who have fated opportunities. Which student who could enter the top 100 of the various academies didn't have any fortuitous encounters? The ocean was an endless treasure trove, and there were too many opportunities in it. You have to know that you should take opportunities when you can, and give up when you can't. This is the lesson that countless people have learned with their lives. Xia Shaochan asked, Teacher, how about the piercing electricity zone and the deep-sea jungle? Wenren Yu smirked. Almost. Xia Shaochan was relieved, but she didn't notice the cunning gleam in Wenren Yu's eyes. Seeing this scene, Han Fei frowned. Was there something else? The next day. At dawn, the 5 of them had breakfast and followed Xiao Zhan out. At the school gate, Ling Yuan looked at the back of the crowd and asked, Teacher, where is the Flame Mountain? Is it dangerous? Wenren Yu said lightly, You are not qualified to know. When you become a great fishing master, ask me again. Ling Yuan trembled. A great fishing master. It felt like it was still very far away. Chu Jinnan was still waving at their backs, but Wenren Yu blocked his sight. From today on, you two start to practice together and try to become intermediate fishing masters before they come back. Zhang Xuanyu put his arm around Han Fei's shoulder and said, Fei Fei, do you think the Flame Mountain will be very hot? Do we have to carry the dragon bones on our backs to prevent being burned to death? Han Fei sneered. If you are burned to death, the 3 academies will probably be burned to the ground. We won't even have a chance to explore it. Lu Rinquang secretly touched the ground. Do we have enough barbecue? Xia Shaochan complained, Are you stupid? How can we eat it underwater? Lu Rinquang said, Just a few bites. Luo Xiaobai said, Okay, stop it. There are 305 people entering the Flame Mountain this time, including us. The competition for opportunities inside must be very fierce. Xiao Zhan walked in front, listening to the 5 of them whispering and chuckled in his heart. You can talk now. You can't have such a good time. They didn't meet the 3 academies. Maybe Han Fei and the others came a little early. So, they set off for the Flame Mountain first. Because Han Fei's white fishing boat was very fast, when they arrived at the Flame Mountain, there was still no one on the vast sea. Han Fei's eyes lit up. No one is here yet. I guess they won't come for a few hours. Shall we have another hot pot? Lu Rinquang rubbed his hands. Okay, we can't just wait for them, right? Xia Shaochan nodded. I don't mind. But this time, let's change the taste. Isn't it said that most of the rare creatures in the level 2 fishery gather here in the Flame Mountain? Han Fei plunged the hook into the sea. After a while, as he raised the rod, a red lobster more than 5 meters long broke out of the water. The moment the lobster came out of the water, 2 phantoms of pincers tens of meters long instantly clamped at Han Fei. Bam! Bam! With 2 punches of spiritual energy, the pincers were shattered and the lobster flopped on the deck, clinging to the deck with its melon seeds. Before it attacked again, Lu Rinquang plunged a knife into its head. Lu Rinquang smacked his lips. Shall we eat lobster hot pot this time? Han Fei shook his head. Let's try something new this time. Lobster in sauce. After a full hour, when Han Fei and the others were having a good time, they saw hundreds of fishing boats descending from the sky above their heads. The people from the 3 academies came. The 3 presidents led the team in person, and the heavenly talents of the 3 academies were all dumbfounded when they saw the scene on the sea. Are they from the 4th academy? Just 5 people. And they are still eating and drinking here, someone swallowed. It smells so good. Someone stared at the 5 of them with excitement in his eyes. They had heard that the Thug Academy was full of geniuses, but they were not convinced. They had never fought them before. Why would they be convinced? On a fishing boat, a boy in white said solemnly, "Attention, if there are less than 10 people, run away if you encounter this group of people." "Hey, Suyebai, when did you become so timid?" Suyebai was the one who fought with Han Fei in the Blue Sea Arena. Although he was a manipulator, he was ranked 8th on the top 100 list of the 3 academies in the Blue Sea town. Suyebai sneered. "You can try to mess with them." Because he had fought them before, Suyebai knew the strength of these people very well. At that time, Han Fei and the others were only junior great fishing masters. What about now? At a glance, none of them seemed to be weaker than him. "Xiao Zhan, why isn't Old Bai here?" Su Tianji, the president of the second academy, sneered. He didn't like Old Bai. Seeing that the fourth academy only sent Xiao Zhan here, he couldn't help but look down on him. Xiao Zhan looked at him with a smile. "I don't think the president needs to come in person for such a trivial matter," Wu Junwei scoffed. "How dare you? Xiao Zhan, do you think you are qualified to be on an equal footing with us?" Xiao Zhan stretched out his hand and a spear made of spiritual energy appeared. Swish! The spear was thrown, and wherever it passed, the waves burst, the sea was torn apart, and the spear was surrounded by waves. Wu Junwei's face changed drastically, and she drew out a long sword from her back. Her momentum seemed to be no less than that of Xiao Zhan's spear. Boom! A semicircular pit tens of meters in diameter appeared on the surface of the water. The spear disappeared and Wu Junwei's long sword was knocked away. All the students were dumbfounded. Including the students on the top 100 list of the 3 academies, they all took a breath. Too strong. They couldn't resist such a powerful attack at all. Wu Junwei frowned and was extremely shocked. Has Xiao Zhan become so strong? Xiao Zhan was still smiling. How about it? Am I qualified enough? At this moment, they were almost done eating. The big lobster had already been half-eaten. Zhang Xuanyu asked, "How are we going to block this attack?" Xia Xiaochan responded, "Only a fool would block it. Just dodge it." Luo Xiaobai muttered, "Death substitute." Lu Renquang said, "If all the shields work together, we should be able to block it." Zhang Xuanyu, "Am I the only one who can't block it?" "But that's right, I just have to hide. I have the golden water silkworm, it's fast." Han Fei agreed. "No, just run." Xiao Zhan had proven his strength. Then, he threw a flame-shaped token to each of them. Xiao Zhan replied, "This is a fiery mountain token. Everyone who goes down gets one. Snatch it for me, the more the better." Chapter 251. Han Fei played with the fiery mountain token in his hand and squeezed it hard, only to find that it was as hard as iron and far harder than ordinary weapons. "Teacher, is this a magic weapon?" Xiao Zhan said, "It's not a magic treasure, but it can be used as a key. As for the specifics, you will know when you go down. Remember, there are many fortuitous encounters in the Blazing Mountain. Don't try to obtain all of them, that's impossible. Every time the Blazing Mountain opened, it could only remain open for a maximum of 7 days. If you don't come out after 7 days, you'll have to wait for another 3 years. Luo Xiaobai asked in surprise, "The Fiery Mountain is a closed secret realm?" Xiao Zhan nodded. Yes. In history, no one had ever come out of the Blazing Mountain when it opened. In other words, if you don't come out in 7 days, you'll definitely die. The 5 of them were shocked. 7 days, only 7 days. Lu Renquang was stunned. "Teacher, what if someone is waiting for us at the exit?" Xiao Zhan replied, "Don't worry. There were many exits in the Blazing Mountain, all suspended in midair. They can block 1 or 2, but they can't block 5 or 6. Lu Renquang quickly patted his chest and took a long breath. "I was so scared. I thought there was only 1 exit. Otherwise, it would be terrible." At this moment, Chu Mengxue, the president of the Third Academy, said, "We have no time to lose. It doesn't matter if Xiao Zhan or Old Bai comes. Since everyone is here, let's begin." Wu Junwei, "I'm fine with it." Su Tianji, "Anytime." Xiao Zhan, "As you wish." Then Xiao Zhan said to the five of them, "This is the first time you've faced death since you came to the academy. No one will be your escort this time. Life and death are up to fate. Come out alive." The five of them nodded. There was still a long way to go. If they couldn't even pass this test, how could they talk about sweeping the 36 towns? In the next moment, the deans of the three academies and Xiao Zhan stepped onto the surface of the sea almost at the same time. Each of them held a red token in their hands. However, unlike the fiery mountain tokens in Han Fei's hands, the tokens in Xiao Zhan's hands had phantoms, which were complex array patterns. The four halos stacked on top of each other, and in an instant, the waves surged into the sky. 100-meter-tall water gate rose from the water. In the middle of the water gate, a whirlpool was slowly forming. All the students were watching this scene intently. However, Luo Xiaobai said to everyone telepathically, "Attention, we'll go in first. Lie in ambush and snatch a batch of fiery mountain tokens as soon as possible." Everyone was stunned. Was this Luo Xiaobai? How did this girl suddenly become so sinister? Are they starting to play tactics? Luo Xiaobai seemed to know what they were thinking. Our purpose is not only to find opportunities but also to grab a batch of fiery mountain tokens. By then, we'll have the most fiery mountain tokens. At that time, there would definitely be people who would risk their lives to snatch it. There's no need for us to look for them. There will be an endless stream of fiery mountain tokens. Zhang Xuanyu grinned. I really pity those people. We haven't even started, but we've already been tricked. Xia Shaochan echoed, I think Xiaobai's idea is very good. Since we can snatch it, why not? I have no problem with that. Lu Renquang replied, it doesn't matter even if I have opinions. But let's do it. A moment later, a whirlpool formed. A black whirlpool with a radius of 20 meters appeared in the 100-meter-tall giant wave. Luo Xiaobai shouted, let's go. Almost in an instant, a vine appeared on the waists of the four of them. At this moment, the vine lifted up and threw the four of them directly into the whirlpool. Not only the four of them, but a large number of students also used their own skills. Some ran wildly in the air, some walked in the air, some held bows, some paved bridges with spiritual plants, some controlled water to make ladders, and some imitated Luo Xiaobai's methods. For a time, all kinds of fancy combat skills appeared. Although this was just the beginning, the whirlpool was hanging at an altitude of 40 or 50 meters. If you didn't have the ability, you wouldn't even be able to enter the gate, let alone snatch opportunities in the secret realm. In mid-air, the four of them had already reached the edge of the whirlpool, and there were at least 20 people with them. Lu Renquang shouted, 1,000 blades slash. In an instant, 1,000 knives were waved, causing a burst of curses from behind. Asshole, these lunatics from the Thug Academy, we haven't even started yet. Damn, after we get in, let's beat them up. Someone shouted, after we get in, let's join hands and fight the Thug Academy first. At this moment, Han Fei stepped on the vortex and felt a huge suction force. He hurriedly gathered spiritual energy with his other leg and forcibly broke free from the vortex. At the same time, he suddenly pulled Luo Xiaobai up. In that instant, at least 7 or 8 arrows pierced through the air. Since the Thug Academy is blocking our way, don't blame us for being rude. However, to their surprise, dozens of long sabers had appeared in the air at some point. At this moment, all the arrows around Luo Xiaobai were crushed. In the blink of an eye. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the 5 of them gathered. In the blink of an eye, Lu Renquang sheathed his knife, and so did Han Fei. The 5 of them allowed the vortex to swallow them, and in the blink of an eye, they disappeared into the vortex. Damn it! Outside the door, There were still people cursing, but no one attacked each other, because there was no reason. What could a few hundred opponents do now? Could he get the fiery mountain token? Of course, their speed was also slower than Han Fei's. Han Fei only felt that his body was spinning, as if he had entered a big vortex, a little out of control. When his body stopped spinning, Han Fei wanted to send a voice transmission to the others. However, when he looked back, where were they? Fuck. Where's the ambush? Why are they all gone? Han Fei realized that Luo Xiaobai's thinking was too simple. She thought that after passing through the vortex, the 5 of them would still be together, but the result was obviously not like this. The location where they appeared in the secret realm of the fiery mountain was random. The reason why he was so sure was that not only did Han Fei not see Luo Xiaobai and the others, but there was no vortex behind him at all. The area where he was very calm. Confirming this and knowing that the ambush had failed, Han Fei couldn't help but smile. He had been too optimistic just now. He looked around and found that this was a mountain, and the mountain rocks and the ground were covered with ancient and withered corals. There were pieces of shells on the ground, schools of fish swimming 100 meters above his head, seaweed floating dozens of meters around, and several dragon-headed fish wandering. In the distance, it was blurry, but there seemed to be a very high mountain. Han Fei also found that the water temperature here was 20 to 30 degrees Celsius. This made Han Fei a little confused. There was no sunlight here. Was it the temperature of the underground volcano? No. Han Fei found that the visibility in this space was very high. How could there be such a high visibility without a light source? Before Han Fei could think too much, he saw 2 dragon-headed fish rushing at him. Idiot, are you stupid? I just came in and you came to hit me. Are you crazy? Little Black and Little White appeared. Little Black jumped out in the blink of an eye, and Han Fei also had 2 long knives in his hands. At the moment when the dragon-headed fish hit him, Han Fei leaned to the side and plunged a knife into the fish's head. With a slash, the dragon-headed fish was cut into 2 pieces. After chopping these 2 iron-headed fish, Han Fei jumped into the pile of rocks and saw a creature moving under the soil. When the underwater creature broke out of the soil, Han Fei's eyes widened when he saw its round lid-like skull and scissor-like tail. Horseshoe worm. Han Fei was speechless. This thing had a history of hundreds of millions of years. And the horseshoe worm he saw now was particularly large, at least 2 or 3 meters long. If there were horseshoe worms here, would there be trilobites? It was something that could be found in ancient fossils. Of course, the data in Han Fei's eyes was different. Name a 3-eyed terror lobster. Introduction: a creature that has survived for countless years. It has a hard carapace, strong vitality, and super adaptability. It likes sand and will only hunt when needed. It is very loyal to its partner. The third eye has the ability to see through ordinary illusions. Level 30 Quality Rare, contains spiritual energy greater than 2,432 points. Edible effect, an edible collectible white eye stone. Chapter 252. Then, more and more sand arched up, and many horseshoe beetles emerged. Unlike the first one, most of the horseshoe beetles that appeared later were a large horseshoe beetle with a smaller horseshoe beetle on its back. Han Fei knew that the larger one was female and the smaller one was male. This was why horseshoe beetles were very loyal to their partners. Once the male and female horseshoe beetles became a couple, they would be inseparable. However, Han Fei always felt that this kind of creature was scary, mainly because it looked a bit scary. Of course, this kind of creature was actually edible, either roasted or fried. However, eating too much of it didn't seem to be good for the human body. After all, it was poisonous. However, looking at these horseshoe beetles that were several meters long, Han Fei had no appetite. I'll eat your sister. They look so scary. How can I eat them? While Han Fei was observing these horseshoe beetles, there was a sudden fluctuation 100 meters away, and a young man suddenly appeared in the air. At this moment, a bubble suddenly popped up on Han Fei's side. Han Fei was stunned. I didn't let out any air. The young man had just calmed down and was naturally taken aback when he saw a large number of bubbles popping up. But as soon as he looked over, another bubble popped up on the other side. Huh? Han Fei was also surprised. Didn't these bubbles come out from the sand? When Han Fei looked back, he saw a disc-like plant behind him, which was covered with dense little bubbles. Name: Bubble Algae. Introduction: Unique seaweed of the fiery mountain, which can filter air from seawater. Level S7. Quality: regular. Spiritual energy greater than 82 points. Edible effect: none. Collectible air. Han Fei blinked his eyes. Could the seaweeds here have oxygen? Good heavens! No wonder no one worried about breathing when they came in. It turned out that there were a lot of bubble algae here. While Han Fei was thinking, a bubble algae popped out of the air in the open space not far away. The young man 100 meters away also secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Then, when he saw the horseshoe beetles that were gnawing on the ironhead fish on the quagmire, he immediately tensed up. Those horseshoe beetles were eating the fish, but the fish was thought to be killed. Without thinking, he suddenly waved the long sword on his back. However, would Han Fei give him a chance? You didn't run at first, but now you want to run. The young man felt that his feet were entangled by the fishing line and subconsciously waved his sword. However, when the sword slashed out, the fishing line seemed to have eyes and actually dodged it. The youth's expression suddenly changed, and spiritual energy immediately gushed out. But at this time, several blue sea wandering dragon daggers had been shot to his hilt. Buzz! The young man immediately fused with his spiritual beast, which was a green snake. Han Fei felt that the fishing line was loosened and the other party broke free. When the young man saw someone swimming over, he understood what was going on. In an instant, his giant tail swept over. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. Green snake eel? As expected, none of the students who could enter the top 100 of the academy were simple. In just a few seconds, the young man broke free from his fishing line. Puff puff puff, dozens of blue sea wandering dragon daggers darted out instantly and cut the green snake's tail into pieces. The young man looked solemn. The moment the snake tail was shattered, the long sword in his hand carried a huge amount of spiritual energy and charged at Han Fei. Hey! Clang! The youth spat out a mouthful of blood. In a head-on battle, even Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Rinquang were no match for Han Fei, let alone him. Hand over your fiery mountain token and I'll spare your life. Han Fei stood quietly in front of the young man and stretched out a hand. Are you Han Fei from the 4th Academy? There were too few people in the 4th Academy. It was hard for the young man not to know him. The young man smiled dejectedly. While throwing out a fiery mountain token, he swam quickly. Han Fei curled his lips. I didn't say I was going to kill you. Why are you running so fast? Han Fei threw the fiery mountain token into Forge the Universe. Then, he swam unhurriedly to the hazy mountain. He was thinking, since this mountain is so conspicuous, will there be no opportunities? He didn't swim for long, probably less than 10,000 meters. Suddenly, Han Fei, who was swimming, made a weird dodging movement. And what passed by his body was a silver-white light. Huh? Is it not a human? Han Fei's face changed slightly. A fish that can become invisible. He stood still and was perceiving the nearby water. Immediately, he found two blurred figures swimming near him. Little Hay immediately leaped out. Invisibility might be useful for others, but it didn't matter to Little Black. It bit out a cloud of blood mist in the water very accurately. When one of them swam towards Han Fei cut through the seawater with the knife in his hand and cut off half of the invisible fish's body. However, the fish was still running. Running? You think too much. He took out his fishing rod and the hook was like a water vein, tying up the invisible fish in the blink of an eye. Han Fei cut the invisible fish's head. Only then did the fish reveal its true body. This was a fish with jelly-like, plain-colored scales. Name a phantom fish. Introduction. Turn the scales into water armor and attack the prey. At the moment of attack, the scales open and turn into sharp blades that can cut weapons below the mystic level. There is a phantom bead in the fish's head, which can strengthen the soul. Han Fei raised his knife and a transparent bead the size of a fingernail appeared. He swallowed the bead without hesitation. It was cool in his mouth and turned into a stream of cold air as soon as it entered his stomach, rushing straight to the top of his head. Huh, it's a little comfortable. Over there, Little Black had bitten 2 phantom fish to death. Han Fei was not in a hurry. After absorbing the spiritual energy from the phantom fish, he ate the phantom bead. After eating 5 phantom beads in a row, Han Fei suddenly found that his spiritual perception range seemed to have increased by about half a meter. At that moment, Han Fei was shocked. He lay in the treehouse and meditated for a month to decipher the God-scaring painting, only to gain an increase of 50 meters in his perception range. As a result, these phantom fish could increase their perception range by such a large amount. Then, with only 1,000 phantom fish, wouldn't he be able to increase his perception range by another 100 meters? Good place, this place is simply wonderful. Han Fei swam slowly along the way, hunting phantom fish by the way. In just half an hour, his spiritual perception range had increased by 10 meters. This made him very happy. Maybe because Han Fei hunted too many phantom fish, half an hour later, Han Fei felt the water ahead shaking. He saw the sea was surging. Fuck, Han Fei sensed a large school of phantom fish. The speed of the phantom fish was not slow. When Han Fei realized it, these fish had already entered within 100 meters. Attach. This was the first time that the 9-tailed mantis shrimp had attached a body to fight after it advanced to the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. The 9 chains, as if they were real, were lashed out. Around Han Fei, 20 blue sea wandering dragon daggers were spinning like diamonds. Bam, bam, bam. However, it only took 2 minutes for Han Fei's million knife art to be broken. 5 minutes, the 7-star chain was tied up by a huge school of fish, and it became more and more difficult to swing it. 8 minutes, Han Fei's spiritual energy protective cover was broken. At this moment, Han Fei seemed to have returned to the scene when he was attacked by countless bonefish on the hexagon starfish. Clang, 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 Han Fei was knocked flying all the way. There were too many phantom fish, and in the blink of an eye, dozens of knives slashed at his body. After a while, Han Fei was covered by these endless knife lights. Fuck. Fuck you. Han Fei struggled out of the school of fish, his clothes tattered and his body full of scratches. At this moment, before running away, he used the 9 chains to pick up dozens of phantom fish and stuff them into Forge the Universe. Han Fei activated the Wandering Dragon art at full speed and began to escape frantically. Go up the mountain. Let's run first. In just a few minutes, he had been hit at least 1,000 times. Wasn't the million knife art fierce enough? Wasn't the 9-star chain strong enough? Mao Yong didn't face the dense phantom fish. Unless Han Fei really had 10,000 knives, he was still a piece of cake. At this moment, Han Fei's body was bleeding from dozens of places. Although he didn't bleed much, at least his defense was broken. No matter how small the wound was, it was still an injury. 8 or 10 wounds were nothing, but what about hundreds or thousands of wounds? While running, the 9-star chain was waving. Sometimes, like a long sword, it could pierce through 5 or 6 phantom fish at a time. But Han Fei also found one thing. Were the phantom fish too fast or was he too slow? He couldn't increase the distance. Ha! Is the Wandering Dragon art not fast enough? Chapter 253. Han Fei found that the wandering dragon art was not fast enough. In fact, it was not the first time that Han Fei found that the wandering dragon art was not fast enough. In the ordinary fishery and the level 1 fishery, this speed was indeed fast, but at that time, there was no comparison. Ever since he caught exotic creatures with Luo Xiaobai and the others in the level 2 fishery, Han Fei had felt it. None of them was slower than him, even if he used the wandering dragon art. However, on second thought, the wandering dragon art was only a mortal level divine quality combat skill deduced from 1000 points of spiritual energy. Although he was already a great fishing master, he was not bad. However, when he was chased by the phantom fish, Han Fei found that he couldn't get rid of these phantom fish no matter how hard he tried. Do I have to use little gold? Han Fei frowned slightly. He didn't plan to expose little gold now. Who knew if others would see it? However, Han Fei didn't panic. Although the wandering dragon art couldn't get rid of these phantom fish, it always kept a distance of 7 or 8 meters. Even if a few fast phantom fish rushed up occasionally, they were no match for Little Black. So, a strange scene appeared in the secret realm of the fiery mountain. A person was swimming at full speed, but there was nothing behind him, only the rolling water. After only half an hour, Han Fei saw a boy he didn't know killing a few horseshoe crabs. The man was still struggling. Horseshoe crabs were level 30 creatures. It was already difficult for him to deal with a few of them at the same time. When the man saw Han Fei swimming towards him crazily, he was shocked. Is he coming for me? Ha! Han Fei. The boy's eyes almost popped out. Did I offend you? I'm killing my three-eyed crayfish. Why are you running towards me? Immediately, the boy stopped fighting and began to slip away. Han Fei couldn't help but laugh. Although we both slip away, I have thousands of troops. How can I be the same as you? Han Fei immediately said to him via voice transmission, the one in front, give me your fiery mountain token and I'll let you go. The man responded, Han Fei, don't go too far. I didn't offend you. If you really push me too hard, I'll fight you to the death. Han Fei shook his head. Just from your words, I know you're a man. Fine, I'll fight it out with you. The person in front was scared out of his wits. Why are you so fucking honest? I'm just messing with you, okay? Was there a need to risk his life? Although Han Fei's speed was not as fast, he was at least a little faster than the one in front. Although the wandering dragon art was only a mortal grade combat skill, it was a divine grade combat skill. It wasn't enough to compete with the top, but it was more than enough to compete with the bottom. Seeing that Han Fei was getting closer and closer to him, the man turned around and shot a spiritual energy arrow at Han Fei's face. Bang! Han Fei smashed the spiritual energy arrow with a punch and continued to say, how dare you? Take an arrow from me. The man in front looked back and his face turned green. Han Fei was swimming while drawing his bow. Xiao! The boy in front of him cried. He turned around and shot 3 arrows, but none of them could break Han Fei's arrow. Wait, the arrow was skewed. The young man was dumbfounded. Did I just waste the spiritual energy of 3 arrows? Han Fei didn't draw the bow anymore. Just now, when he pulled the bow, dozens of ghost fish slashed at him, causing more wounds to appear on his body, which had just recovered. The young man asked, Han Fei, what do I have to do to make you stop? It's a waste of time for you to chase me like this. Give me your fiery mountain token, or I will chase you until I die. I can take you down in at most half an hour. Think about it yourself. The young man was speechless. How could he be so unlucky? As soon as he came in, he met such a silly guy. The key was that he was at least one of the top 50 masters. With a swish, a red token was thrown out and the young man cursed, here you go. Han Fei, don't be so rude. We'll meet again in the future. Han Fei smiled. Okay, since you're so generous, I won't embarrass you. Let's go. Han Fei took the fish, turned a corner, and ran in another direction. Before coming, Xiao Zhan said that although this place was dangerous, it was best not to kill people deliberately. Han Fei felt that there was no need to kill people. These were the elites of the Blue Sea town, and they had no grudge against him, so there was no need to kill them. If he really chased them with the ghost fish, needless to say, the guy in front of him would definitely not be able to resist. Even he might not be able to resist them, let alone him. The 9-star chain behind Han Fei was still weaving and swinging, and more than hundreds of ghost fish had died under the 9-star chain and Little Black's hands. Ghost fish brothers, don't be so stubborn, right? Can't you just chase me for a while? Why are you so stubborn? Han Fei was speechless. These ghost fish were like fools. I just killed a few hundred of your brothers. Why have you been chasing me until now? Swimming and running all the way, Han Fei found that the secret realm of the fiery mountain was very large, at least 1,000 kilometers in radius. After running for a long time, including the young man before, Han Fei only met 3 people in total. And he had swum at least 200 kilometers. Ha! That thing. Piercing electricity jellyfish. Han Fei was very surprised. He saw a large number of piercing electricity jellyfish. At this moment, these jellyfish were surrounding their friends and releasing little lightning to play. Along the way, all the fish that Han Fei encountered ran away, except for these piercing electricity jellyfish, which didn't run fast. Without thinking, Han Fei immediately put away Little Black, Little White, and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and rushed over. Wasn't it just a few electric shocks? How many times had he been electrocuted? How many times had he been electrocuted? After a moment, buzz. Buzz. Buzz, Han Fei. $. Han Fei's body was covered with piercing electricity jellyfish. Oh my god, he had become a humanoid generator. At this moment, Han Fei was so shocked that his eyes almost rolled back and his whole body was trembling. Han Fei was still wondering if he could still lose weight after being electrocuted in this situation. Of course, this was a digression. The main thing was that the group of ghost fish were no longer ghosts after being electrocuted. A large number of ghost fish were electrocuted and floated up, belly up. They didn't have Han Fei's terrifying resistance. They were just fish, and their mouths were full of water. Han Fei found that the ghost fish that had been electrocuted were much more visible. Although they still looked a bit like a puddle of water to the naked eye, at least they were visible and could emit electric currents from time to time. While twitching, Han Fei tried to pounce on the ghost fish. One after another, the ghost fish that had been electrocuted were collected into Forge the Universe by Han Fei. In total, he had collected thousands of ghost fish. Han Fei activated a spiritual energy protective cover and then burst out his spiritual energy. Boom! A group of piercing electricity jellyfish was shattered by Han Fei, and the latter hurriedly ran away. Those piercing electricity jellyfish chased after him, but unfortunately, slow speed was their natural disadvantage. In the blink of an eye, Han Fei disappeared. Inside Forge the Universe. Han Fei cut off the fish heads one by one and threw the ghost beads into his mouth one by one. Han Fei was very excited. It had only been less than 2 hours since he came in, but his spiritual perception range had increased a lot. Han Fei didn't know how many ghost beads he had swallowed. When his perception range reached 200 meters, it couldn't increase anymore, and the ghost beads lost their effect. The point was that he still had more than 300 ghost beads at the moment. Phew. That's enough. It's just 2 hours. It's worth 2 months of meditation. I've made a fortune. Han Fei suddenly appeared on a stone. Looking around, there was no movement. Occasionally, ironhead fish and some cuttlefish swam by. These were all ordinary creatures, worthless, so Han Fei didn't pay attention to them. Han Fei quietly swam in the water, like a big fish. He wondered if there was a combat skill that could turn him into a fish. If there was such a combat skill, it would be very convenient in the ocean. As long as he was strong enough, he could go wherever he wanted. Half an hour later, Han Fei was still moving towards the mountain. But when he was halfway there, he found a gap between two big stones. Han Fei didn't pay attention to this, but he saw the remains of a sea serpent near the entrance of the cave. It seemed to have been dead for a long time, and even the body had been eaten up by horseshoe worms. Huh? Is there someone in the cave? Han Fei immediately took out a piece of black fish skin and covered his face. On second thought, he put away the knife and replaced it with a stick. After changing his attire, he quietly snuck in. Less than 100 meters into the cave, Han Fei saw a large number of rare sapphire crabs. These sapphire crabs were not small. Some were smashed, some were pierced by knives and swords, and some were shot by arrows. Han Fei was shocked. There was more than one person here. Chapter 254. Skimming past piles of crab shells and swimming less than 1,000 meters, Han Fei vaguely heard the sound of fighting. Han Fei's eyes lit up and he continued to move forward. After a while, the space in front of him suddenly opened up. In such a large lava cave-like place, quartz crystals were everywhere inserted on the rock walls. Han Fei hid on the side and looked out, only to see that 2 boys and 1 girl were fighting a big lobster. The point was that the 2 big pincers of this lobster were in a state of detachment, just suspended on both sides of the red lobster. And these pincers were spinning like a top. Han Fei narrowed his eyes and data appeared. Name: Iron Wall Lobster. Introduction: It has flexible iron arms and can attack like a catapult. Because it is good at drilling into the ground, its pincers are extremely flexible. Its 2 pincers can also be refined into magic weapons. Level 33 Quality Exotic Equality contains spiritual energy 2192 points. Edible effect: It can enhance one's chi and blood. Collectible lobster pincers. Han Fei frowned. A level 33 exotic creature. That's awesome. Among the large creatures he had seen so far, it could be ranked in the top 10. As for the other 3 boys, Han Fei didn't know any of them. One of them was fighting with a bow. As for the other 2, one was holding a spear and the other was using a knife. At this moment, the 3 of them were fighting with the iron wall lobster. Almost all the attacks were blocked by the pair of pincers, and sparks flashed from time to time. Han Fei glanced at them and then looked into the cave, only to find a small sea tree growing in the center of the cave. The stick was straight, the body was pure silver, and there was a silver fruit on the top. Name: Snow Silver Bamboo. Introduction: The treasure bamboo bred by the silver crystal mine can be refined into an ultra-quality magic weapon. Bamboo bears silver fruits, which can strengthen the muscles and bones. Level 30 Quality Ultra-quality treasure bamboo. Quality Ultra-quality treasure bamboo. Collectible snow silver fruit. Seeing this snow silver bamboo, Han Fei drooled. In the sea, it was not difficult to encounter bamboo trees. For example, there were many in the deep-sea jungle. However, it was very difficult to encounter bamboo trees of good quality. This was especially true for those with fruits on them. Almost all of them were the best among their peers. For example, the purple bamboo tree was an ultra-quality in the ordinary fishery, but it was only mortal level. Han Fei glanced at the snow silver bamboo and then at the iron wall lobster. What if I want both? No, not just 2, but 3 fiery mountain tokens. Han Fei was not in a hurry anymore. He just hid on the side and thought to himself, go ahead and fight. Once the fight is over, I'm here to harvest. There was simply no one who could be the fisherman. After the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn. The bow-wielding girl roared and spat a mouthful of essence blood on the spiritual energy arrow. An arrow was shot out. The arrow suddenly made a sharp turn in the air and shot directly under the lobster. Chi, the iron wall prawn was furious. It threw out a large pincer and smashed it towards the girl, as if it wanted to smash her to pieces. However, the spear-wielding young man attacked with all his spiritual energy. Bang! The pincer flew out and broke countless quartz crystal pillars. The blade-wielding youth took the opportunity to drill into the iron-walled prawn's abdomen. Suddenly, a gash several meters wide appeared in the iron-walled prawn's body. Han Fei couldn't help but be surprised. The three of them almost killed this exotic iron-walled prawn. Although it took a long time, he had to admit that they were already very powerful. No wonder they could enter the top 100 of the academy. But could Han Fei let the iron-walled prawn die? That was impossible. If it died, how could he collect it? Swish! The three teenagers were about to kill this iron-walled prawn when a spiritual energy arrow suddenly appeared, startling them. Not good, there's an enemy. The three of them were talking to each other. At the moment when Han Fei shot the spiritual energy arrow, the three of them gathered together. Although they had consumed most of their spiritual energy, they didn't panic at this moment and seemed to be quite calm. Bang! Crack! The iron-walled prawn was shot on the carapace of the head by an arrow, and cracks appeared on the carapace. The three teenagers' faces changed drastically when they heard this cracking sound. They had been fighting this iron-walled prawn for so long but failed to kill it. But the person who came later cracked the carapace of its head with an arrow. This meant that the person who came was very strong. Han Fei leisurely appeared. Seeing a pincer trying to grab it, he immediately waved the water-stirring seal. He didn't even need to use his shadow. He smashed the pincer with his seal and sent it flying. Han Fei ran to the prawn's head and smashed it 4 or 5 times in a row until the head was full of cracks and the iron-walled prawn fainted. Han Fei looked at the three teenagers with a smile. Fortunately, the three of them had crippled the iron-walled prawn. Otherwise, it would have taken him a lot of effort to fight it alone. In his mind, the girl said to him via voice transmission, "Shameless. We killed this prawn." Han Fei thought to himself, "I don't care who killed it. Anyway, it's mine now." So he said to them via voice transmission, "Hand over your fiery mountain tokens and I'll let you go." However, there was no response from the other side. Han Fei walked over step by step. "We're all classmates. Don't make things difficult for me." The three of them frowned slightly. "Classmates? From our school?" However, just when Han Fei was about to ask for their fiery mountain tokens, the three of them suddenly broke out. The spear-wielding boy waved his spear and a big blue fish suddenly appeared, rushing straight at Han Fei's face. Smack! Bam! Han Fei raised his hand and slapped down, and the big fish and the spear were both slapped away. But what followed was 3 explosive arrows. The spiritual energy exploded in front of Han Fei's eyes through the arrows. Waves of rolling water were set off. Even though Han Fei had been prepared, he was still shaken back several steps. Cold light flashed in the waves and Han Fei suddenly took out his double knives. Clang, 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 in the blink of an eye, dozens of knives slashed at each other, and the boy was sent flying by Han Fei. At this moment, his hands had been frozen. When a fish hook brushed past Han Fei's cheek, the fish skin mask on Han Fei's face was torn open. "Ha, you're good at cooperating." Han Fei put on a smile and stared at the three of them. "Since you've seen my face, then hand over your fiery mountain tokens before I'm ready to beat you up." The three of them were all black at this moment. "Classmates? Isn't this Han Fei from the 4th Academy? There are only 5 people in their academy in total. How could they meet him?" Seeing that the girls still wanted to take the bow, with a swish, a blue sea-wandering dragon dagger cut through the seawater and fell directly in front of the girl's neck. "Girls should be reserved. Don't fight," the spear-wielding boy said. "Give him your fiery mountain tokens. We're almost out of spiritual energy now. We can't fight with Han Fei in his peak state." Swish! Swish! 3 fiery mountain tokens were thrown out. Han Fei caught them with a smile and threw them into Forge the Universe. Plus his own fiery mountain tokens, he had already got 7. Han Fei nodded. Not bad, not bad. I'm a generous man. I won't argue with you. Let's go. At this time, the 3 of them didn't say anything harsh. If Han Fei became angry and wanted to kill them, they would be in danger. So the 3 of them gritted their teeth and left quickly. Han Fei smiled and the demon purification pot flashed. Collect the demon. Collecting the iron-armed lobsters, Han Fei walked to the snow-silver bamboo, raised his knife, and picked the snow-silver fruit. Then, Han Fei pulled out the snow-silver bamboo and was about to enter Forge the Universe. Suddenly, he looked up and saw some thick crystals hanging in the air on the twisted top of the cave. Han Fei blinked and his eyebrows jumped several times. Huh, why does it look a little familiar? After a moment. Fuck, Han Fei's face changed and he immediately took out a small box from Forge the Universe, the small box that he took from Master Turtle. Han Fei quickly opened the map inside. Back then, when they received the map, none of them knew where it was located. However, when he opened it, Han Fei immediately found a large crisscross stone pillar in the southeast corner of this fish skin map. Fuck. A treasure map of the fiery mountain. At this moment, Han Fei felt a sudden sense of happiness. It was like a pie falling from the sky. He actually had a treasure map of the secret realm of the fiery mountain. It was like the heavens were helping him. Inside Forge the Universe. Ha ha ha. I have a map. Who am I afraid of? Treasures, here I come. Chapter 255. All spiritual fruits contain spiritual energy. This snow-silver fruit didn't have much spiritual energy, only more than 30,000 points. So far, it wasn't enough for Han Fei to refine a spiritual weapon. Of course, it was enough to refine a magic weapon. In Forge the Universe. Han Fei swallowed the snow-silver fruit. It was cold in his mouth and tasted not as good as strawberries, only a hint of sweetness. However, then Han Fei felt that his bones were a little numb. He looked inside himself and found that there were spots of silver light in his bones. Ha! My bones can shine. After a while, when the effect of the snow-silver fruit disappeared, Han Fei found that the silver light gradually faded, but his bones became a little brighter, or a little bit more immortal, because they were emitting a hint of silver light. Han Fei got up and sensed it, only to find that his strength had increased by nearly half from the original base. Wow! Can a fruit have such a great effect? Han Fei was shocked. At his current level, with the indestructible body strengthened to this point, a small increase in strength meant an increase of hundreds of kilograms. Besides, Han Fei felt that his bones had become a lot stronger. This snow-silver fruit didn't just increase his strength. As for the spiritual energy, it might just be supplementary. Hey! Han Fei threw the rod into the demon purification pot to refine it, while looking at the map in his hand. Although there were no marks on the map, there were no less than 20 places with special features on the map. Among them, the mountain accounted for as many as 6 of them. And the place where he was actually not eye-catching, just a relatively small mark on the map. Han Fei secretly calculated the proportion. 200 kilometers southeast from here, there were 3 doorways. Needless to say, it must be one of the treasures. A few minutes later, a silver rod appeared. Because Han Fei didn't consider the shape and patterns of the rod just now, this silver rod looked very ordinary except for its extraordinary material. Name a snow-silver rod. Introduction. Made of snow-silver bamboo, the rod is very heavy and extremely hard, but its shortcoming is that it is a little tough and not easy to bend. Quality. A high-quality magic weapon. Detached. A non-recastable, unrefined. A note, due to the limited forging materials, it can be cast into a high-quality magic weapon at most. Han Fei picked up the rod and was overjoyed. This kind of rod weighing 1,000 kilograms was better. After dripping blood on it, Han Fei wouldn't feel it was heavy even if he carried it. The rod in Forge the Universe was heavier than the fucking golden hoop rod, and Han Fei really couldn't carry it. After a while, Han Fei carried the snow-silver rod and happily set off to the 3 doorways in the southeast. The main task of the Fiery Mountain was not only to find opportunities but also to fight for the Fiery Mountain tokens. But he had to find someone to fight for the Fiery Mountain. So where was the easiest place to find? Where could he find someone? Without hesitation, Han Fei swam to the 3 gates at full speed. Along the way, he also found some bubble algae and took a few deep breaths. Han then Su Fish Sea. On the way, Han Fei met 2 people, but both of them were advanced great fishing masters. Han Fei chased it for a while, only to find that it was also very fast and almost impossible to catch up with it. He's spiritual energy, and he silver dragonly, he dragon, he dragon, said Fei, and said. Dragon, silver dragon flying. Different from the stone gap just now, the place of the 3 doors on the map was actually a small trench. The trench was no more than 100 meters deep and no more than a kilometer wide. Unlike the stone gap just now, the location of the 3 gates on the map was actually a small trench. The trench was no more than 100 meters deep and no more than 1,000 meters wide. Right in the middle of this small oceanic trench, there were 3 large holes visible to the naked eye. Anyone who passed by would probably be able to discover this place. There were traces of fighting at the entrance of the hole, and there were many big pits nearby. Han Fei hesitated for a moment and dived down. No matter what was in the hole, he would go in first. Little White, which hole do I go in? Little White floated for a while against Han Fei's cheek, and then swam directly into the hole in the middle. Wow! Is it so boring? The hole in the middle is the largest. It doesn't look like a good hole. Treasures are hidden in it. Han Fei carried the snow-silver rod, took out a fish skin mask, put it on his face, and began to explore. However, as soon as he entered, Han Fei felt something was wrong. The cave was abnormally cold, completely different from the water temperature of more than 20 degrees outside. It was extremely cold in this cave. If it was just cold, it wouldn't be a big deal. The point was that in addition to the coldness, there was a gloomy and terrifying sound, trembling and lingering. Woo! 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 Ha! The corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. Is there something scaring me? But before Han Fei swam a kilometer, he saw a hand floating in the sea. Han Fei. In an instant, Han Fei's heart tightened. A hand? Is someone dead? He had to be nervous. Those who could come to the secret realm of the Fiery Mountain couldn't be ordinary. For example, although the people he had met were weaker than him, it was not as if they had no redeeming qualities. At least, some people were not slower than him when it came to running. After a while, Han Fei saw a broken body. And on that body, there was a black shadow, but he couldn't see what it was. The black shadow seemed to have heard the noise and jumped out with a swish, leaving only an afterimage in place. Han Fei went over to take a look. This boy had been dead for a long time. His chest had been drilled through, and the middle was a bloody mess. Han Fei's face darkened. That damn thing was eating the body just now. Although, theoretically, those who participated in the secret realm assessment of the Fiery Mountain were all enemies. But this didn't mean that the enemy should die like this. Han Fei immediately knocked on the rock wall with his rod and covered the body with some gravel. Of course, Han Fei also rummaged through this guy's Fiery Mountain token, but he didn't find it. It must have been taken away. Brother, make do with it. Remember, in your next life, don't do it if you don't have a diamond in your hand. Han Fei continued to swim forward. After swimming less than 500 meters, he suddenly leaned to the side and attacked with his rod. A black shadow leaped out from behind him with a swoosh. A string of data flashed in Han Fei's eyes, but he didn't have time to see it. Han Fei didn't chase it. This thing was too fast. Little Black couldn't bite it even if he wanted to. Han Fei grabbed Little Black's tail. Don't worry. I'll come back. Han Fei continued to swim in. Blood appeared in the water occasionally. Han Fei guessed that someone should be injured. After a while, Han Fei stopped. He saw dozens of forks and a dozen caves leading in all directions. And in most of the caves, there was a faint blood color spreading. Ha! Have many people been in this cave? Little White, where do I go? As a professional direction guide, Little White began to feel awkward facing more than a dozen caves. Sometimes he wanted to go left, sometimes he wanted to go right, which made Han Fei frown from time to time. Did Little White fail? In the end, Little White chose a cave on the side. Han Fei swam in without any hesitation. But not long after he entered, there was another cave. Damn, what the hell is this place? Why are there so many caves? After Little White chose, Han Fei continued. But this time, Han Fei's soul was shocked. When he was halfway through, the seawater completely turned blood red. As far as his eyes could see, there was blood everywhere. Damn! How many people are going to die? However, this was not the end. There was a squeaking sound in the seawater. Han Fei almost subconsciously activated a spiritual energy protective cover and had the nine-tailed mantis shrimp attached to him. Sure enough, in the next moment, a large number of black shadows emerged. They shuttled back and forth like black shadows. In terms of speed alone, they were much faster than Han Fei. Squeak! When Han Fei saw them clearly, he was shocked. They were all black rats. A string of data flashed in his eyes. The 9-star chain was instantly opened, and the blue sea wandering dragon surrounded Han Fei like a grinding wheel. And Little Black had already rushed out. From time to time, Han Fei saw Little Black open his mouth and bite a dark water rat in half. However, at this moment, Han Fei was a little scared. This was not what he was worried about. It was just a group of water rats. Could they really kill him? Just now, at the moment when the dark water rats surged over, he saw a gloomy face not far away, ghastly and terrifying. Chapter 256. Almost in the blink of an eye, the water around Han Fei became extremely turbid and the flesh of dark water rats was everywhere. Han Fei found that although the dark water rats were fast and had a strong bite, their defense was not even as good as that of level 20 rare fish. Do you want to win with numbers? Han Fei didn't know how many water rats were hanging on him. However, so far, none of them could bite through his skin. It was just a little painful, that was true. Bam! With himself as the center, Han Fei suddenly burst out a spiritual energy explosion, and dozens of water rats were shattered in an instant. At this moment, Han Fei knew where the so-called blood water came from. There were a large number of water rats in almost every cave. Was it dangerous? Of course it was. If it were anyone else, even if they had strong means of attack, they would be bitten to death or at least half of their life. When thousands of water rats were minced, these annoying fellows hurriedly retreated. They seemed to find that Han Fei was not so easy to deal with. Han Fei braced himself and walked forward. In the blood red, Han Fei always felt that something was watching him. Immediately, Han Fei released his spiritual perception and scanned the space inch by inch. There must be something here, but he couldn't find it. After swimming for a while and passing through the blood water area, Han Fei found that this cave was long, with dark stone walls on both sides. Touching the stone wall, Han Fei swam carefully, and the snow-silver rod in his hand was replaced by a blue sea wandering dragon dagger. Suddenly, Han Fei suddenly pulled out a dagger and stabbed it directly into the wall beside him. A human face suddenly emerged from the stone wall, and at the moment when Han Fei stabbed it, the human face melted into the stone. Fuck, Han Fei felt that there were 10,000 ironhead fish galloping in his heart. It was so fucking exciting. That thing was not human at all. Besides, this thing could evade his spiritual perception. Fortunately, he had the demon purification pot in his hand. Otherwise, he really wouldn't have been able to find this damn thing. Devilfish? Just now, a message flashed in his eyes. Mutant devilfish, elusive, fond of darkness, weak attack power, but extremely good at substitution, can change faces, and can create fear. 30 mysterious 1672 points. Inedible. Nunhan Fei swallowed. He was a little stunned when he first saw the message. This was the third time he had seen a mysterious creature. It was a fish that had no attack power, but it had a strange ability that could cause fear. At this moment, Han Fei wondered why he, who had always been so stubborn, ended up in this damn place. He was always on tenterhooks, so it was all because of this thing. Fuck, don't let me catch you, or I'll chop you to death. Han Fei wondered if there were any treasures in this place. How could there be treasures in such a gloomy and terrifying place? Give me a fish bone. Han Fei blinked as he saw someone running towards him. This kind of encounter was very strange. In a place with a radius of 1,000 miles, the two of them just had to meet in such a pitch-black cave. Wasn't this strange? Hey! Brother, why are you running? Han Fei waved his hand and said hello. However, that person didn't respond. He held 2 axes in his hands and leaped over, chopping down violently. Dang dang dang, Han Fei's face slightly changed. Hey! Who the fuck are you? However, what responded to Han Fei was a heavy axe, on which there was a phantom of a big pincer. Rumble, the billowing waves immediately exploded. Han Fei frowned. This person was an advanced great fishing master, but he exerted strength beyond that of an advanced great fishing master. The axe just now made Han Fei feel as if he had taken Zhang Xuanyu's 7-layered rod in Furious Sea. Because the two were too close, Han Fei found that this person's eyes were red and he seemed to have lost his mind. Humph. 9-star chain. BAM, BAM, BAM. 9 chains were instantly nailed to the rock walls on both sides, directly binding the lost boy. But Han Fei didn't expect that this person was so crazy that he gathered all the spiritual energy in his body. This was no longer a spiritual energy explosion. Did this guy want to blow himself up? Bam! Han Fei poked this person's stomach with a rod and directly scattered the spiritual energy. Then, he smacked his back with the rod, knocking him to the ground. Huh. Han Fei withdrew the chain and saw a palm-sized starfish behind the boy's neck. Psychedelic starfish. Parasitic starfish liked to attach to fish and could easily control the parasite's mind, making it manic. 25 rare 545 points. Inedible. Han Fei pinched this psychedelic starfish and found that this thing had been embedded in the boy's skin. Han Fei took out a knife and made a circle behind the boy's neck. The boy's skin was immediately covered with a layer of frost and his neck became stiff. Come down. Han Fei directly pulled this starfish down. However, this starfish didn't move at all, as if it was frozen. Under his feet, the boy's stiff neck seemed to have woken up. After waking up, the first thing he did was to take out a fish skin pouch from his waist and take a breath into the fish skin pouch. Then, he slowly recovered and sat on the ground, clutching his neck. Han Fei asked, "You're awake?" With a swish, the boy jumped up. Maybe he was too excited, or maybe he didn't react, but the consequence of being hit by Han Fei just now came. The boy was bleeding from all his orifices. Who are you? Han Fei waved the starfish in his hand and said, "You were parasitized by this thing. I saved you. How are you going to repay me?" The boy. He seemed to be recalling something. After a while, his face stiffened and there seemed to be a trace of horror in it. Han Fei said, "Don't be silent. If it weren't for me, you would have been dead. So, give me your fiery mountain token." The boy looked at the masked Han Fei and asked solemnly, "Who are you?" "I am me. I am a different kind of firework." The boy covered his neck. Anyway, you saved me, so this life is yours. I'll give you my fiery mountain token. The boy took out a fiery mountain token and Han Fei said to him, just one. The boy was stunned. Isn't it just one for each person? Han Fei was suspicious. You don't have any companions dead? Don't pretend. I've already buried one ahead. That guy's fiery mountain token has long been taken away. Huh? The boy shook his head. I don't know. I did come with another girl, but she should not be dead. We encountered a ghost face fish. I was bitten and she ran away. A girl? Han Fei frowned. Is there another group of people here? Han Fei put away the fiery mountain token and waved his hand. Go out. The dark water rats in the passage have been cleaned up by me. The boy cupped his fists and said, I'm Gu Tao from the Third Academy. Thank you for saving my life. Han Fei waved his hand without looking back. Gu Tao couldn't resist the various strange creatures here, but he was not afraid. Now that he had found the ghost face fish, he wouldn't take it out unless he killed it. Of course, in addition to this reason, there were at least 2 or even 3 fiery mountain tokens here. How could he let go of the fiery mountain token? Moving forward, the internal structure of the cave became more and more complicated. Before, there was still a path to follow. But now, there were caves everywhere. Han Fei really admired the guy just now. He didn't get lost in it. Xiao Bai, can you feel someone nearby? Take me to it. Cell phone station. Chapter 257. Perhaps with Little White's help, it was easy for Han Fei to find the way. But this also led to other consequences. In just half an hour, Han Fei was attacked twice. This time, it was still the suicidal charge of the dark water rats, but these rats couldn't do anything to Han Fei. The other time, Han Fei was attacked by the devil fish. This guy popped up behind him and bit him, crushing his spiritual energy protective cover and biting off a piece of flesh. This was the difference between mysterious creatures and exotic creatures. Han Fei was confident that as long as this devil fish was an exotic species, it couldn't bite through him at this level. At this moment, Han Fei snorted and ran forward with the rod. Buzz buzz buzz, when palm-sized psychedelic starfish shot over like darts, Han Fei's face turned green. Damn, the devil fish, right? Don't let me catch you, or I won't take you in. I'll skin you alive. Han Fei was very sure that from beginning to end, all the trouble he encountered was caused by the devil fish. Is this guy a devil? Why can it control these rare creatures? He thought quickly, but his hands didn't stop. 20 blue sea wandering dragon daggers formed a circular shield in front of him, rotating in front of him. Watching the starfish being crushed one by one, Han Fei sneered. Is there no other way? You even used the psychedelic starfish? Han Fei seemed to think of something. He had been attacked one after another along the way. Was it because this devil fish didn't want him to move forward? The more he thought about it, the more curious Han Fei was. What secrets were there in the depths of the cave? His spiritual energy was constantly consumed, but Han Fei didn't care. Compared to spiritual energy, whether it was the dark water rat or the illusory starfish, they were not easily grown. They couldn't keep coming to die. When he figured this out, Han Fei moved faster. In the cave, the horrible and gloomy smell became stronger and stronger. In the end, there was a sob in the sea, as if a woman was crying. Stop playing tricks. Han Fei stretched out his hand, and the blue sea wandering dragon bow suddenly appeared in his hand, and he pulled the bow to a full moon. Swish, 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 several spiritual energy arrows bombarded the area in front of them. For a time, the cave was full of spiritual energy and rocks were flying. In the rubble, a human face grinned at Han Fei. Xiao. The human-faced stone was blown to pieces. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. Why don't you show up again? But then, Han Fei didn't find the devil fish. It seemed to have disappeared into thin air. With Little White leading the way, Han Fei finally came to the depths of the cave. As soon as Han Fei came in, he saw a layer of white bones on the ground. And in the middle of the bones, there was a light green blade of grass swaying in the middle of the bones. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. A blade of grass. Hidden mist grass. In his eyes. Misty grass, a bait spirit plant. Wherever the hidden fog grass was, it would attract sea creatures. Generally, it was used to cultivate special creatures to evolve and mutate. 34 Spirit Plant 12666 points. After consuming it, the user would be able to become invisible. Han Fei's face changed. Sure enough, as he expected. Back then, he had seen the introduction of this spirit herb in the Encyclopedia of Spirit Plants. This kind of grass was usually used by elites as bait to cultivate mutants. So, this mist-hidden grass was deliberately placed here by someone? A lot of questions popped up in Han Fei's mind. Looking at so many bones on the ground, there were not only fish bones but also human bones. So, this mist-hidden grass should have been here for many years. But the problem was, didn't it say that only people below dangling fishers could enter this secret realm? Besides, the bones all over the ground didn't seem to have been accumulated for decades. If someone did this on purpose, was that mysterious mutant devil fish the mutant cultivated by that guy? Han Fei shivered slightly. How difficult it was to deal with mysterious creatures. This mutant devil fish could be seen. It was the first time that he had been fooled by a fish. Han Fei immediately drew the bow, and the spiritual energy arrow turned into a stream of light, shooting straight at the mist-hidden grass. It was not that he didn't want to eat this mist-hidden grass, but since this thing was deliberately placed here, how could he let others take advantage of it? Sure enough, when the spiritual energy arrow was about to hit the mist-hidden grass, a turquoise circular energy shield suddenly appeared. Bam! The spiritual energy arrow, which was comparable to the full blow of an advanced great fishing master, was blocked, but the turquoise energy shield didn't shake at all. Woo! Ah! When Han Fei attacked the mist-hidden grass, the whimpering sound appeared again. This time, Han Fei didn't even look back but secretly instructed, "Little Black, look behind me. If this thing dares to come up, bite it to death." Not only Little Black, but the 9-star chain behind Han Fei was also swaying slightly, as if saying, "As long as it dared to appear, I would kill it." Han Fei continued to raise the bow, the corners of his mouth curling up. The War Soul bow technique had a total of 9 arrows. Just now, he was just testing it. Swish! 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 When Han Fei shot the arrows, the whole cave was shaking. With Han Fei's attacks, the consumption of spiritual energy was higher and higher. The first time was only 200 points of spiritual energy, the second time was 400 points, the third time was 800 points. Han Fei gritted his teeth. When he shot the 4th arrow, the spiritual energy in his body was exhausted. Fortunately, he had enough spiritual energy. When the bowstring of the 5th arrow was pulled out, the veins on Han Fei's whole arm bulged. This arrow was almost beyond his ability. Around him, the sea was shaking. Above his head, rocks fell. However, Han Fei didn't care at all. This arrow burst out 3,200 points of spiritual energy. Han Fei believed that even a junior dangling fisher would be blown up in an instant. Because even if he was a dangling fisher, who dared to say that his upper limit of spiritual energy had exceeded 3,200? Just when Han Fei was about to shoot this arrow, he felt a chill behind him and goosebumps appeared on his back. At this moment, the corners of Han Fei's mouth suddenly curled up. He leaned forward and quickly turned around in midair. Swish! A dazzling white light burst out in an instant, illuminating the entire cave. Han Fei even saw many mist starfish, entrenched on the top rock wall, but he didn't care. "Hey! I said, if you dare to show up again, I will kill you." A large amount of gravel fell from above, but Han Fei didn't even look at it and directly slapped the gravel aside with the 9-star chain. And 20 blue sea wandering dragon daggers instantly shot out. This time, a large part of the rock wall collapsed by Han Fei's arrow, and the mutant devil fish was embedded in the rock wall like a piece of meat skin. This time, it failed to melt into the rock and escape. Han Fei sneered. Run. Continue to run. Your soul has been blown up by me. Let's see how you can run. In fact, Han Fei didn't want to shoot the mist-hidden grass at all, but he expected this damn thing to sneak attack him. Everything was just an act. However, after this arrow, Han Fei only felt that his arm was extremely sore and he couldn't exert any strength for a while. No, it seems that I have to use the 5th arrow less. At this moment, Little Black bit through the devil fish. However, Little Black was stunned. There was no fucking meat. Han Fei was speechless. Is it really just a piece of skin? Not even a bone. If it weren't for the data in his eyes, Han Fei would really think this thing was a fake fish or a piece of fish skin. At this moment, the devil fish had lost half of its skin and was dying. Han Fei stretched out his finger and flicked its fish skin. Should I kill you? TSK TSK. With that, Han Fei grabbed a blue sea wandering dragon dagger and cut the fish skin of the devil fish. Wherever the dagger passed, frost condensed. Finally, Han Fei saw panic in the fish skin-like eyes. However, Han Fei didn't panic at all. Mysterious creatures were so easy to kill. He didn't believe it. Slash. Han Fei cut a hole in the fish skin. It seems that you can't speak. That's right, so far, I have only met 2 that can speak. It seems that not all mysterious creatures can speak. Han Fei stared at it for a long time, but unfortunately, there was no feedback in the end. Forget it, collect the monster. However, he didn't complete the collection this time. That damned fish was still resisting. Slash. Slash. Han Fei raised his dagger and cut dozens of times on the mutant devil fish, cutting the thin layer of fish skin into pieces. Han Fei said angrily, I've given you face, haven't I? Surrender or die. Cell phone site. Chapter 258. Just when this mutant devil fish was about to be cut into pieces by Han Fei, it finally accepted its fate. It was not that it didn't want to fight back, but if it continued to fight back, it would really die. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up. Just now, he wanted to give up this damn thing, thinking, if I can synthesize a creature similar to this mutant devil fish, it won't be cute at all. After cleaning up the mutant devil fish, Han Fei turned his eyes to the mist-hidden grass. Han Fei put away the blue sea wandering dragon bow and took out the water-stirring seal. After his 4 consecutive strikes, this shield had weakened a little. Han Fei suspected that the person who arranged this small formation was not very strong. At least, under the power of his 4th arrow, the shield was shaken and flickered several times. Clang, 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 the shield was knocked violently with a force of 10,000 kilograms. Every time Han Fei knocked, the surrounding water rippled and surged. For a time, the seawater in the cave surged out. Gotcha! After Han Fei knocked dozens of times, the first crack appeared. But at this moment, Han Fei suddenly looked back, only to see 2 teenagers running over from the entrance of a cave. One of them was covered with blood, missing a lot of flesh and blood, and his face was disfigured. But the other person was intact. Han Fei even felt that this person was not weak, probably at the level of a peak-level great fishing master. Even after seeing him, that person still had a calm expression on his face. At this moment, the 2 first looked at Han Fei and the mist-hidden grass protected by the shield. Then, looking at the rock wall where Han Fei had just shot a huge hole, they frowned. Han Fei waved his hand. Hey! Hello! Before the 2 of them answered, a girl came out of the cave on the other side. The girl was carrying 2 daggers. When she saw Han Fei and the other 2, she couldn't help but be surprised. Han Fei grinned. It seemed that the situation was better than he expected. If he guessed right, these 2 teenagers had at least 3 Fiery Mountain tokens, and this girl had 1, so he was about to get 4 Fiery Mountain tokens. This was a treasure hunt. However, before Han Fei could figure out how to deceive these 3 people, the girl suddenly approached Han Fei. I don't know who you are, but the guy opposite me is Kong Yunfei from the First Academy, ranked 6th in the top 100 list of the 3 academies. You and I have to work together, or neither of us will be able to escape. Han Fei blinked. Okay. On the other side, Kong Yunfei frowned slightly. Give up that spiritual herb and hand over your Fiery Mountain tokens, and I'll let you go. Han Fei said to him via voice transmission, Humph, don't be arrogant. I, Gu Tao, am an expert ranked 80th on the top 100 list. Su Yunfei, if you insist on snatching it, don't blame me for taking you down with me. If Gu Tao were here, he would definitely despise Han Fei in the strongest way. I was impersonated just like that. If you want to impersonate me, you should at least do a better job. Since when did I become 80th? I'm ranked 96th. Kong Yunfei sneered. Since when can a guy ranked 80th be so arrogant to a guy ranked 6th? Luckily, Sun Yunfei had never paid attention to students below the top 10. Otherwise, he would have seen through Han Fei. A question popped up in Han Fei's mind. You are not Gu Tao. Did you meet him? How is he? Han Fei paused. He forgot that Gu Tao said he had a companion. So it was this girl. Han Fei responded, let's meet them first. We are allies. On the other side, Sun Yunfei gestured with his eyes, and the boy next to him immediately rushed to another cave entrance, and at the same time, pressed the armor box in his hand to the ground, ready to fight at any time. Han Fei looked at the girl next to him. What's Kong Yunfei's profession? The girl was taken aback. Don't you know Kong Yunfei's profession? He's ranked 6th on the top 100 list. However, the girl immediately responded, he's a soul warrior, very strong. His spiritual beast is a ghost eel, extremely fast, and his lightning slash is very strong. What about the other person? The girl shook her head. I don't know him. He's not in the top 100. Han Fei asked, what about you? The girl said via voice transmission, I'm ranked 100th on the top 100 list, Yuan Jia. Who are you? Is Gu Tao still alive? Han Fei replied, alive. I am a lonely traveler in the ocean. Don't ask me where I come from or where I go. I won't tell you. Yuan Jia. Yuan Jia wondered if she had met a fool. Don't be so naughty in front of a powerful enemy, okay? Han Fei asked seriously, well, why didn't you run just now? Yuan Jia looked serious. If I could run out, I would have done so long ago. I know you are also in danger, but at least you need me now. I can pin down the injured one. After dealing with him, I will go to help you. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up slightly. Boy, is she throwing this Kong Yunfei to me? I don't know where this girl gets her confidence from. She thinks she can beat the person ranked 6th on the top 100 list. However, Han Fei was not afraid. He just responded with a smile, okay. Su Yunfei frowned. Han Fei gave him a weird feeling. He always felt that this person seemed a little familiar. It shouldn't be. How could he be familiar with a person ranked 80th on the top 100 list? Han Fei said via voice transmission, hey, it's not easy for me to find this thing. I can't give it to you. I won't hand over the Fiery Mountain token. If you don't want to die, leave quickly. Kong Yunfei smiled. You want to scare me away? I know all the top 10 on the top 100 list, okay. Since you are not in the top 10, what am I afraid of? Yet, he still wanted to fight to the death with him. Kong Yunfei said via voice transmission, thank you for the noise you made here. Otherwise, I might not have been able to find you. So, I will spare your life." With that, a spear suddenly appeared in Kang Yunfei's hand. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. A spiritual weapon spear. This was the first student Han Fei had seen using a spiritual level weapon. Just this alone proved that Kang Yunfei was definitely not weak. But Han Fei didn't care. A spiritual weapon without a sealed creature was not much stronger than a magic weapon. He immediately rushed up with the snow-silver rod. Bam! It was just a tentative blow, but 3 layers of ripples broke out and the water shook. Under the huge shock wave, Yuan Jia and the boy brought by Kang Yunfei almost couldn't stabilize their bodies. Kang Yunfei's face changed slightly. "You can't be 80th on the top 100 list." Han Fei suddenly accelerated, hundreds of spiritual energy vortexes suddenly appeared on his body, and the snow-silver rod in his hand struck crazily. Even in the water, Han Fei waved the rod, leaving countless afterimages. Kang Yunfei was horrified. Fast, too fast. Han Fei struck out hundreds of rod shadows, and those were not virtual shadows, but just an illusion caused by Han Fei's speed. Kang Yunfei subconsciously raised his spear to block. But after a series of bombardments, Kang Yunfei found that every time he blocked, the spiritual energy in his body would be consumed a little. In just a few seconds, he had lost as much as 10% of his spiritual energy. Buzz! Buzz! Suddenly, when a flash of lightning flashed, Han Fei hurriedly retreated. But no matter how fast he was, how could he be faster than the electric current? The thick electric arc rushed straight into Han Fei's body, and its power was comparable to the high-voltage current of dozens of piercing electricity jellyfish. At the moment when Han Fei was trembling, Kang Yunfei stepped on the air, rotated his body horizontally, and stabbed the spear in his hand. Just when Kang Yunfei thought he would hit Han Fei's body twisted in a strange arc in the water. His slightly chubby body was even softer than a girl's. Bam! At the moment when the two passed each other, Han Fei directly hit Kang Yunfei with his rod. But it was not over yet. The 9-star chain burst out in an instant, directly buckling Kang Yunfei's hands, feet, head, and waist. Then Han Fei flipped the big seal in his hand and slapped it down. Bam! Kang Yunfei flew out like a cannonball in an instant and hit the rock wall hard, making the rock wall full of cracks. On the side, Yuan Jia and the other boy were dumbfounded. "What's going on? We haven't fought yet. And it's over on your side?" The 6th-ranked soul warrior on the top 100 list didn't even last for 3 breaths before he was killed. Boom! Kang Yunfei on the rock wall suddenly vomited a mouthful of blood, his eyes red, and broke free from the rock wall with a bang, and a huge eel phantom emerged. At the same time, a single-horned shark appeared in the water. Kang Yunfei shouted, "I'm going to kill you." Han Fei was stunned. A shark? In addition to Zhang Xuanyu's bloodthirsty shark, he saw a second shark, the one with horns on its head. The single-horned shark instantly turned into a water blade. In an instant, a huge blade tens of meters long slashed straight at Han Fei. Water-stirring seal technique. Han Fei said seriously. The water-stirring seal was no longer a brick. The big seal phantom of tens of meters floated in the air and hit the blade with a brick. Clang! The ear-piercing roar shook Yuan Jia and the other person, causing them to vomit a mouthful of blood. In the next moment, a big shark was slapped away on the rock wall. Han Fei also flew out upside down and hit the rock wall. Han Fei shook his head, broke free from the rock wall, and even scratched his head. Kang Yunfei was dumbfounded. Damn it! He's fine. The other two were shocked at the same time. Han Fei. Chapter 259. Han Fei twisted his body and adjusted his muscles and bones. The 6th on the top 100 list was indeed quite powerful. Just now, the power of the shark actually knocked away the water-stirring seal. At this moment, the fish skin on Han Fei's face was shattered, and the three of them saw Han Fei's face. Kang Yunfei didn't know Han Fei at all, nor had he been to the Blue Sea Arena to watch a game, so he was not surprised. But Yuan Jia and the other person subconsciously took 2 steps back. It was this guy. Immediately, Kang Yunfei seemed to have received some news. Kang Yunfei asked, Han Fei, the 4th Academy. Han Fei smiled, and with a flash of golden light, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp appeared, waving its 9 chains in the sea. Han Fei pointed at the other 2, and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp waved its chain in the air, meaning, if you dare to run, I won't be polite anymore. Yuan Jia and the unknown young man's faces turned green. Are you kidding me? You want to tie me up for a contractual spiritual beast? The 2 of them reached an agreement almost instantly and attacked at the same time. An iron hook squid and a machete crab instantly attached to their bodies. However, the 9-star chain was like a sharp arrow, arriving in an instant. The saber in the young man's hand was smashed into pieces, and the 3 chains coiled around him like 3 poisonous snakes. Yuan Jia didn't have it easy either. Although the iron hook squid was good at entangling attacks, when faced with 5 or 6 chains, she could only barely dodge them no matter how hard she tried. There was no way she could fight back. Yuan Jia was shocked. It's at least an exotic creature. The kind that isn't too strong. Han Fei ignored the 2 of them. The 9-tailed mantis shrimp was enough to deal with them. He looked at Kang Yunfei and said, exposed. At this point, hand over your fiery mountain token. Or, if you have any other tricks up your sleeves, you can try them too. Kang Yunfei frowned. Just because he didn't know Han Fei didn't mean he hadn't heard of him. In fact, ever since Han Fei defeated Su Yabai, he had become famous. Many students on the top 100 list said that they couldn't beat Han Fei because Su Yabai was a manipulator. If they sent a soul warrior, they would definitely be able to win. But now, that was not the case. Han Fei's face seemed to arouse Kang Yunfei's ferocity. Kang Yunfei turned into a shadow and rushed towards Han Fei. The next moment, the 2 of them started fighting. The cave was filled with flashes of light and shadows. The 2 of them were extremely fast, throwing out all kinds of combat skills as if they were free. After a full 5 minutes, Han Fei knocked Kang Yunfei down with a rod and a blue sea wandering dragon dagger shot through his palm. There were dozens of scratches on his body, and his clothes were torn to shreds. His body was drenched in blood. Not bad, but not strong enough. How did you rank 6th? Kang Yunfei almost vomited blood. Am I not strong enough? I've hit you dozens of times, okay? However, what made Kang Yunfei despair was what kind of body was this? He couldn't move it at all. Han Fei looked at Kang Yunfei lying on the ground with a smile. This guy is almost as good as Zhang Xuanyu. No, he had to tell Zhang Xuanyu that he was about to be caught. Han Fei stretched out his hand. Give me your fiery mountain token, or I'll kill you. Kang Yunfei's mouth was bleeding and his expression was ugly. You're not going to kill me. It's up to you whether to kill them or not. This is just a trial, and you're already a seated figure in the Blue Sea town. In the future, there are so many small fries in the 36 towns, and someone has to deal with them. Han Fei thought to himself, kill you? Am I stupid? If I want to kill you, I have to kill the other 2. Even if I kill them all, Gu Tao will still run out. Won't I be exposed? Besides, when Kang Yunfei goes out to grab a few more fiery mountain tokens, he may be able to rob him again. How nice. It's so nice. Kang Yunfei took out 2 fiery mountain tokens and threw them to Han Fei. I will catch up with you. Han Fei was surprised. You gave me 2. Kang Yunfei snorted. Winner takes all. I don't want to keep one. Otherwise, it will seem like I can't afford to lose. Han Fei finally glanced at Kang Yunfei. Although he was arrogant at the beginning, after losing, he became normal. To put it bluntly, he was asking for a beating. Han Fei didn't want to kill Kang Yunfei, but looked at the other two. Give it to me. Yuan Jia and the other boy were almost crying. They admitted that they couldn't beat Han Fei. After all, he was from the 4th academy. They couldn't afford to offend an academy with only a single-digit enrollment. But they couldn't even beat a contractual spiritual beast. This was very annoying. The 9-tailed mantis shrimp put away the 9-star chain. It didn't even need to swim up and smash the opponent. It could kill the opponent with its tail. Then the 9-tailed mantis shrimp climbed to Han Fei's side and hugged his leg. Han Fei's face changed drastically and he immediately took back the 9-tailed mantis shrimp, in case this idiot did something disgusting. Yuan Jia and the boy both threw out their fiery mountain tokens helplessly. At the same time, the two of them also deeply recognized their level. It was enough for them to keep their qualification for the top 100. Compared with people like Han Fei or Kang Feiyun, they had no chance at all. Han Fei got 4 fiery mountain tokens at once. Plus the ones he got before, he had a total of 12. Han Fei thought, this is too easy. In just half a day, he got 12. There are only 305 people participating in the trial in total. It should be no problem for him to get 50 fiery mountain tokens in 7 days, right? Since the fiery mountain tokens were given, they were no longer enemies. At this moment, Kang Yunfei swallowed healing pills and sat cross-legged to heal his wounds. Han Fei ignored Yuan Jia and the boy, but holding the water-stirring seal, came to the mist-hidden grass and began to knock on it, making their scalps go numb. Clang, 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 after knocking for a full 5 minutes, the small shield was smashed open by Han Fei. Han Fei picked up the mist-hidden grass and threw it into Forge the Universe, thinking, this thing can make me invisible after eating it. It's a waste not to eat it, but I don't know how effective it is. Han Fei had asked Xia Shaochan if she could learn stealth, but she said it was an exclusive stealth combat skill for hunters. There were many kinds of stealth combat skills, and although they were similar, there were also powerful ones among them. The most powerful one was that even his peers couldn't find him when he was invisible. Of course, if he perceived with spiritual power, he could still find traces. Han Fei didn't care. It was good enough that he could be invisible. At least when he went into the sea, he didn't have to worry about the harassment of some small fish and shrimps. Didn't Luo Xiaobai just find an invisible jellyfish as a contractual spiritual beast? Kang Yunfei was speechless. I'm fucking healing myself. How am I supposed to heal myself when you're smashing me? Kang Yunfei got up with a slightly pale face. Shall we go out? Han Fei asked, do we know each other very well? If you want to go out with me, you can each owe me a fiery mountain token. Yuan Jia asked, what? A fiery mountain token to go out? Han Fei blinked and said, why don't you try to go out and have a look yourself? Anyway, this place is full of caves. Although you can definitely go out, I don't know if you can have a place to breathe. Anyway, I don't mind you staying here for a while. You'll have fewer competitors. Kang Yunfei didn't even blink. Okay. He didn't want to waste time. He had tried to go out before, but unfortunately, he couldn't find the way after a long time. Since Han Fei could go out, he didn't mind owing him a fiery mountain token. After going out, he could just rob someone. He couldn't beat Han Fei, but few of the more than 300 people outside were his match. Yuan Jia said, I'll try my best. If I can't get it, Han Fei said, then forget it. But you have to give it to me if you get it. This is a matter of integrity. Yuan Jia was speechless. Integrity? You're taking advantage of me. Han Fei counted with his fingers. It seemed that he had 15 fiery mountain tokens now. Not a loss, but a small profit. With a flash between Han Fei's eyebrows, little white intimately stuck to Han Fei's cheek. Han Fei said, let's go out. Along the way, everyone looked at Han Fei strangely. Who said that the spirit-swallowing fish was useless? This thing's IQ was too high, wasn't it? Han Fei was relying on it to lead the way. After a while, the four of them went out of the cave, and Han Fei reminded them, "Don't forget. Each of you owes me a fiery mountain token. If you don't give it to me, humph, next time I meet you, don't blame me for being ruthless." Kong Yunfei snorted, turned his head, and left. The other two hurried to find the bubble algae and didn't respond. But Han Fei didn't panic. If these people really went back on their words, he would kill them. After they left, Han Fei took out the map, thought for a while, and decided to swim to that mountain. On the map, there were so many treasure marks on the mountain, which must be of great benefit. Mobile phone station, you're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.